Chapter 221. The next day, early in the morning, Lin Yuan was awakened from his light sleep with a start. It was still the same mysterious feeling, as if some dangerous existence was staring at him. Snakes did not have sweat glands, otherwise Lin Yuan would have been soaked in cold sweat by now. Even so, Lin Yuan's breathing was still very rapid, and the fear in his heterochromatic eyes was getting more and more intense. As he looked at the sky, he realized that the sky had turned a crimson red. Countless clouds of flames were swirling in the sky, and a scorching aura was blowing in his face. The entire Sumra world was filled with an aura of destruction, as if the world was about to be destroyed. Lin Yuan stared at the sky. Above the sky, something was also staring at him. It was a pair of eyes condensed from flames, cold and without a trace of emotion, like a god sitting in the ninth heaven overlooking the mortal world. However, Lin Yuan was certain that the pair of indifferent eyes had always been on him. System, this guy, what is he trying to do? The corners of Lin Yuan's eyes twitched slightly, and he used his mind to awaken the system. The remnant soul of the fire Kirin has sensed the threat of the host, and is worried that the host will kill too quickly, causing all the creatures here to be absorbed by the host. Therefore, it has decided to take out all the life energy it has accumulated over the years as a last resort, wanting to break through the boundary between life and death. Once it succeeds, it will be able to return to the world in its complete form. According to the system's calculations, the success rate of the remnant soul of the fire Kirin is currently 27%. A look of horror flashed across Lin Yuan's face. The remnant soul of the fire Kirin had absorbed so much life energy, it should know how much it needed, right? Moreover, during this period of time, in order to dispel the fire Kirin's wariness, he had basically been resting or teaching Chokai. He had not hunted any creatures in the light source at all. Saying that the remnant soul of the fire Kirin had sensed a threat from him, wasn't this forcing him to be the scapegoat? Lin Yuan was now very curious as to what exactly had stimulated the remnant soul of the fire Kirin to make such a risky decision. System, what will happen if the resurrection of the fire Kirin fails? Did he turn into ashes on the spot? Lin Yuan's eyes moved slightly for a moment, and there was a bit of gloominess in his eyes. Regardless of whether it was in the previous life or this life, one had to pay a price for doing anything. Fire Kirin's actions were no different from toying with the eccentric existence of death. If Fire Kirin's remnant soul failed to resurrect successfully, it would definitely pay an extremely painful price. It would be lucky if it would be reduced to ashes on the spot and never fall into the cycle of reincarnation. If death is compared to a god, then it must be the most eccentric god. As long as you have the ability to deceive death, it will generously grant you new life. But if you fail to deceive it, it will show you what true cruelty is. The fire Kirin's actions are no different from deceiving death. If its resurrection fails, its soul will be dragged into a lonely plane to suffer eternal torture. Its physical body may be reduced to ashes, or it may be transformed by the power of death into a monster that only knows how to kill to please death. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan glanced at him from the corner of his eye. In front of him, a demonic beast at the 7th level of the wisdom realm was suddenly turned into a dried corpse by a strange force. As time passed, more and more demonic beasts were turned into dried corpses. In the system's evaluation, the success rate of Fire Kirin's resurrection was also continuously increasing. Although the increase was not huge, and it finally stopped at 40%, if Lin Yuan knew that he had a 40% chance of being resurrected after death, he would also choose to take a gamble. Black Snake. A figure flashed in front of him, and a wretched Zhu Xinghai appeared in front of Lin Yuan. This man who used to be full of vigor was now hunched over, and the wrinkles on his face were much deeper than the last time they met. His long hair had long fallen out, and his skin that was exposed to the air was covered with age spots. Even his eyes had lost their light, and he looked like he could die at any moment. Black Snake, what is going on? Zhu Xinghai's hands trembled as he asked with a choked voice. In the past years, Zhu Xinghai felt that he had seen life and death. Although he felt that it was a pity that he had lost his lifespan, he also felt that it was enough for him to live peacefully for the remaining 10 years. However, when his lifespan was about to end, Zhu Xinghai suddenly felt that he was so afraid of death. If someone came to tell him that they could help him avoid the fate of death, he was even willing to give up everything that he could. That thing, it seems like it doesn't want to wait anymore. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and stared at the pair of fiery eyes in the sky, and a trace of light flashed through his eyes. During the time that he was in Sumra world, something big might have happened in the outside world, which caused this fire Kiran's remnant soul to be so flustered and irritable. It even tried to break through the boundary between life and death even though it knew that it did not have enough power. As for the words that the system said before, Lin Yuan did not take it to heart. Recently, he did not do anything to provoke the fire Kiran, so it was obvious that the system was digging a hole for him. However, Lin Yuan's eyes revealed a look of contemplation. He could not imagine what had happened in the outside world that could provoke this fire Kiran. Back when Beast Lord Kiran sent his capable subordinates to investigate the ghost domain, this fellow arrogantly captured the Mountain Lord level demonic beasts that followed them, as if it did not put Beast Lord Kiran in its eyes at all. Could it be that Beast Lord Kiran had personally come to the ghost domain this time? Or, suddenly, Lin Yuan had a bold idea. He was merely a beast king from the outskirts of the Hingduan mountain range. In the Hingduan mountain range, he was definitely not a powerful character. Even if he mysteriously disappeared in the ghost domain, Beast Lord Kiran would not even bother to look for him, let alone come to the ghost domain to suppress the fire Kiran's remnant soul. In Lin Yuan's memories, the only existence that could threaten the fire Kiran and even care about his life and death seemed to be that Lord. Could it be that because he had mysteriously disappeared in the ghost domain, that Lord had led his inferno demonic beasts to attack Sumra world, which provoked this fire Kiran and made it decide to give up on accumulating power and directly start the resurrection ritual? Lin Yuan felt his lips dry up. He felt that the situation was faintly out of his control. If that was really the case, then there was no problem for the system to put the blame on him. Chapter 222. If Lin Yuan had to say what emotion he was feeling right now, it would definitely be regret. Extreme regret. If he had known earlier, he would not have been dormant during this period of time. If he had carried out the slaughter according to his previous killing efficiency when he entered the light source, Lin Yuan's cultivation would have probably risen to the 8th level of the wisdom state or even the 9th level of the wisdom state, even if he had not triggered the task of promoting to the Mountain Lord realm. But now that the fire Kiran had gone berserk, even a powerful existence like Zhu Xinghai had almost been turned into a dried corpse. Those existences that Lin Yuan could deal with would probably not even have a corpse left, right? Roar! An angry roar came from the sky, waking Lin Yuan from his thoughts. This roar carried many emotions. There was unwillingness, anger, and even a bit of pain. The fire Kiran's resurrection ritual was probably not going smoothly. Although the probability of its resurrection was as high as 40%, probability was not something that was worth believing in. Some people could achieve a 100% success rate even if they only had a 1% success rate, while some people would still fail even if they had a 99% success rate. Looking at the fire Kiran's appearance, Lin Yuan could guess that the fire Kiran's resurrection ritual was not going smoothly. Black Snake, what should I do? Quickly help me think of a way. I beg you, I don't want to die. I can't die yet. Under the threat of death, Zhu Xinghai, whose life force was still flowing out of his body, knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lin Yuan. All the elegance of an expert and the majesty of an emperor had been thrown to the back of his mind. In reality, Zhu Xinghai was not an existence that could calmly face death. Otherwise, when Lei Qiuxing had started the rebellion, this existence known as the number one person in the Myriad Swords dynasty would have sat in the imperial palace and waited for the outcome of the battle to be decided. But back then, Zhou Xinghai had chosen to bring his personal guards far away from the battlefield and the imperial capital. He did not dare to directly face the power of the rebel army, nor did he dare to question why Lei Chusheng, whom he deeply trusted, wanted to rebel. This was not the first time that doubtful Xinghai had chosen to live. At this moment, when Yu Xinghai was kneeling in front of him, a look of disdain flashed across Lin Yuan's eyes. "I'm sorry, but I really can't save you." Lin Yuan gently shook his head. The fire Kirin had devoured all the living beings in the light source, and the only ones who could escape this calamity were probably Lin Yuan and Chao Kai. However, what happened after that was still out of Lin Yuan's control. Whether it was the resurrection of the fire Kirin or the capture of Lin Yuan, there was no possibility of Lin Yuan letting him go. However, it was obviously impossible to pin hope on the unrealistic idea of the fire Kirin and Lin Luoran injuring each other. You can definitely save me. As long as you tell me how you resisted the devouring power of this array, I will definitely be able to survive." Yu Xinghai's eyes were red as he stared fiercely at Lin Yuan. Under the torture of death, Yu Xinghai's mentality was already on the verge of collapse. He coldly said, "Black Snake, I really don't have any more time. I will give you two choices. Tell me how to resist the devouring power, and the two of us can both live. Or, before I die of old age, I will drag you along with me." Puchi. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing through flesh suddenly rang out. Lin Yuan's black snake tail instantly pierced through Yu Xinghai's chest. Dark red blood dyed the entire snake tail red. If it was a Heaven Dipper realm expert at his peak state, even if Lin Yuan used all his strength, he might not be able to break through the opponent's defense that was comparable to a Mountain Lord realm monster. However, Yu Xinghai's mentality had already collapsed. He didn't think that Lin Yuan would suddenly attack him. Adding on the fact that his body was already on the verge of heaven's decay and could die of old age at any moment, he had already lost the defense that a Heaven Dipper realm expert should have. "You, Pu, how dare you?" Yu Xinghai lowered his head and stared blankly at the snake tail that pierced through his chest as he muttered to himself. Why did this black snake dare to kill him? He was the supreme ruler of the 10,000 Swords dynasty. If it was a few decades ago, even Beast Lord Kirin would be his best friend. Even if he lost the throne and the dynasty, the Yu clan's strength in the Shenwu dynasty was still terrifying. Before he was captured and brought to Sumra world, Yu Xinghai was still living a life of luxury. When the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range saw Yu Xinghai, they would also have to respectfully bow to him. He never thought that his ending would be like this. Dying in the hands of a little beast king in the outer regions of the Hengduan mountain range. What a joke. If he knew that this would happen, he would have stayed in the imperial capital and led the army that was loyal to him to have a life and death battle with that traitor Lei Chusheng. He was not willing to accept this. But he had no choice but to accept the reality in front of him. Although a Heaven Dipper realm cultivator's body was strong and wouldn't die on the spot after being pierced through the chest, he could still recover if he was treated in time. But in the light source, no one would waste precious spiritual items to save him. Furthermore, his body was extremely weak. Although he wasn't dead yet, he had lost the strength to retaliate. You interrupted my train of thought. Lin Yuan twisted his snake body. His heterochromatic eyes didn't have any fear as he stared at Yu Xinghai. To Lin Yuan, status was just a title. Things like Beast Lord Kirin, Emperor Sun of the previous dynasty were all like that. It wouldn't increase his strength at all. As for huge forces, that was even more of a joke. After a person died, everything would be empty. Were the Jiu clan's remnants fighting against the Shenwu dynasty to bring Yu Xinghai back to the throne? No, they were just greedy for the power they had when they were nobles. They also knew that the Shenwu dynasty wouldn't let go of those who were loyal to the previous dynasty. Thus, they were determined to fight against the Xinwu dynasty. Not to mention that Lin Yuan had killed a prisoner in the Sumer world. Even if he killed Yu Xinghai in the Hingduan mountain range, as long as he displayed enough strength and potential, Beast Lord Kirin wouldn't blame him. Instead, he would draw a clear line with the Jiao clan's remnants. After all, Lin Yuan was a demonic beast and the Jiao clan's remnants were just a bunch of chess pieces to restrict the Xinwu dynasty. To Lin Yuan, killing Yu Xinghai didn't have any burden at all. Ding! Congratulations to host for killing Heaven Dipper Realm Level 4 Jiao Xinghai. Reward, 40 attribute points. The system broadcast appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan pursed his lips as a light flashed in his eyes. Since he didn't expect Lord and Fire Kirin to both be heavily injured, then his own strength would be crucial. If you feel that this book isn't enough, you can go and read my old book Peerless God of War. It has a total of 4 million words and can be eaten to your heart's content. Chapter 223. Even if he couldn't break through to the Mountain Lord realm, it didn't matter as long as he had enough attribute points. If Lin Yuan, who had activated Blood Boil, couldn't escape from the encirclement of the Inferno demon beasts with the Fire Kirin restraining the Lord, then he had nothing to say. He had already done his best. Although the Wisdom demon beasts had all been turned into dried corpses by the Fire Kirin, the remaining ones were all Heaven Star Realm and Mountain Lord Realm existences. Moreover, they were all extremely weak. Every one of them could give him a large amount of attribute points. As long as he could kill these guys, he might be able to reach the peak of the Wisdom demon beasts. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan's snake body slowly twisted as he walked towards his first prey according to the image formed by his sense of smell. Ding! The Fire Kirin has been successfully revived. Host is advised to escape immediately. Ding! The Fire Kirin's bloodline has been detected. Special mission, Bloodline Advancement. Name, Bloodline Advancement. Description: the host was able to walk step by step until today, partly because of his own hard work and partly because of the system's gift. However, the host should be aware that there is no divine beast bloodline in his body. Although the host can slowly condense it through cultivation and the system's rewards, it will be a very long path. In view of the host's current enemies, there is an existence with the bloodline of an ancient remnant beast. Therefore, the system has specially issued this reward. As long as the host can kill the Fire Qilin, the host will obtain a chance to make a transaction with the system. The ancient divine beast bloodline in the Fire Kirin's body will be used to exchange for the host's complete Water Wirm bloodline. Mission reward: 1 chance to make a bloodline transaction. Failure punishment: none. Lin Yuan, looking at the system notification that suddenly popped up, Lin Yuan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Kill a Fire Kirin of the Desolate Demon Realm. The system's mission seemed to be forcing him into a dead end. Although there was no penalty for failure, Lin Yuan had a vague premonition that whether or not he could become a Mountain Lord would depend on when he could cancel the evolution state in his status bar and transform from a heavenly black python into a Water Wirm. Currently, there were countless powerful enemies surrounding him. If he didn't have enough strength, Lin Yuan would sooner or later be devoured clean. However, wasn't this cheating thing a little too much? Although Lin Yuan didn't know what level the Fire Kirin was, in the midst of his previous life, Kirin was on the same level as the Azure Dragon. If there really was a corresponding bloodline level, then the Kirin bloodline should be on the same level as the true dragon bloodline, right? Why was there only one Flood Dragon bloodline in the system? Lin Yuan was speechless for a moment because he didn't know if the Fire Kirin bloodline was too inferior or if the system was too profiteering. The system recommends that the host treasure this opportunity. After all, there aren't many opportunities to exchange bloodlines. If the system didn't happen to have stock, even if the host obtained the Fire Kirin bloodline, it would be of no use to you. When the system notification sounded again, Lin Yuan made up his mind. The cultivation aptitude of his physical body was pitifully poor. Chotsai's cultivation speed was 100 times faster than his. Even the two mountain-shaking apes, Nagin and Mendu, had better aptitudes than him. If Bada's foundation hadn't been damaged, it might have been stronger than him. If it wasn't for the fact that he could obtain attribute points from killing monsters, Lin Yuan really couldn't compare to these native monsters. If he was allowed to slowly condense the water WIRM bloodline, Lin Yuan estimated that he might not be able to condense the bloodline even if he waited until the green leaf water lotus bloomed. Phew, it seems like I can't leave immediately. I have to wait until the battle between Lord and the Fire Kirin ends, or I can directly join Lord's camp and become a harvester in exchange for the chance to kill the Fire Kirin. Lin Yuan secretly thought about the feasibility of this matter. He still wasn't sure how useful the Purgatory Heart would be to Lord. Although the trouble he had caused before wasn't small, for an existence of the desolate demon realm like Lord, it was nothing more than letting others give him face. If he really had to engage in a life-and-death battle with an existence of the desolate demon realm for Lin Yuan, it was hard to say whether Lord would back down or not. Forget it. When the bridge reaches the bow, the boat will cross. Since things have already reached this point, I'll just take the risk. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes emitted a ray of light. Lin Yuan wasn't a gambler. Whether it was the blood feud of his previous life or the fantastical experiences of this life, Lin Yuan didn't want to casually give up his life. He wanted to reach a higher position and see more wonders. It would be best if he could return to his previous life and take revenge. But this didn't mean that Lin Yuan didn't have the courage. If he had to bet his life on a chance to turn things around, Lin Yuan wouldn't hesitate. Right now, this opportunity was in front of him. At the same time, Hingduan Mountain Range, Ghost's Domain. Lord, who had transformed into a dragon, wandered in this mountain range where there were no living creatures. He sent out all the monsters under his command to search for traces of the black snake. As the mastermind behind the scenes, although Sir wasn't a narcissistic person who boasted of being flawless, he still gave sufficient care to the special existence of the black snake. He even deliberately left a tracking mark on the black snake, worried that the black snake would secretly slip away. In fact, just as he expected, the black snake did have the intention to sneak away. He delegated his authority to the monsters under his command and secretly left Stoneclaw Forest. To Lord, this was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity. In this ghost's domain where no living creatures dared to live, it was impossible for the beast Lord Kirin's spy to exist. If he secretly captured the black snake here, he could do it without anyone noticing. As long as he had the black snake in his hands, why would he be afraid that the black snake wouldn't cooperate? But after tracking the black snake all the way to the ghost's domain, Lord almost went crazy. The black snake's tracking mark was indeed in the ghost's domain, but in this half a month, Lord had led his monsters to plow through the entire ghost's domain, but they still couldn't find that treacherous black snake. Lord, is that black snake? A wisdom realm level 7 green python wriggled its body and walked to Lord's side. Its eyes were filled with doubt. Although it believed that Lord was the strongest, a small trick like the tracking mark wasn't hard to break. After wasting half a month without any results, it even suspected that the black snake had tricked them. Impossible. That black snake must be here. Continue to search for it. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you have to find that black snake. Lord's face darkened, and his eyes were gloomy as he growled. Although it had doubts in its heart, it was more confident in its methods. That black snake must still be in the ghost's domain. I'll send 160 monthly votes to you. Please continue to ask for monthly votes. Chapter 224. At the new location of Zhanshan City. Commander Li, Staff Officer Luo, something bad has happened. A lieutenant dressed in black armor strode into the military tent with a grave expression on his face. Commander Li and Luo Su looked at each other and saw a trace of doubt in each other's eyes. The pace of the demonic beast's attack was much slower than they had imagined. Originally, they only wanted to take away the majority of the materials stored in the new location of Zhanshan City. However, after they had emptied the new location of Zhanshan City, there were no signs of the demonic beast horde as they had imagined. This made them wonder if the Hingduan mountain range's previous actions were just to scare them. Don't be anxious, speak slowly. Qilin, go pour a cup of water for Lieutenant Fong. A trace of seriousness flashed across Commander Li's eyes as he turned his head and gave an order to his adjutant. The Azure River Empire has deployed an army of 3.6 million soldiers, and their vanguard is heading straight for our Shenwu dynasty. At the same time, news has also come from the south, saying that the demonic beasts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas have also made a move. Hundreds of battleships have mysteriously disappeared, and more than a dozen fishing villages have also disappeared overnight. Furthermore, the Shuangjin dynasty's cavalry is also patrolling the borders of our Shenwu dynasty. The imperial capital has received countless pleading letters, and the imperial court is so busy that no one cares about our situation here. If that is all, it would be fine. However, the surrounding 6 cities have also sent us letters, saying that there are a large number of demonic beasts living outside their cities, so they are unable to support us. They have even requested us to temporarily abandon the Zhanshan city that has yet to be built to support them. Lieutenant Fong said a few shocking news in a row, then took the cup of tea from Qilin's hand and drank it in one gulp. He nodded and said, "Thank you, Adjutant Zhang." Commander Li's body swayed slightly. Luo Su's eyes widened. Lei Fan, who was sitting on the main seat, slammed the table and stood up. Just a few short pieces of news that entered their ears brought about a shock that made their hearts palpitate. The heavens seemed to be changing. The Qingjiang dynasty and the Shuangjin dynasty were pointing their weapons at the Shenwu dynasty. The demonic beasts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas and the Hingduan mountain range had changed their hibernating posture and were ready to make a move. It seemed that an invisible force was controlling these forces, each of which was comparable to the Shenwu dynasty, to unite and blow the horn to charge at the Shenwu dynasty. Urgent news from the imperial capital. A messenger strode into the meeting room and said in a deep voice, "Lord Lei Fan, the Emperor has sent a letter asking you not to leave your post without permission. Either you rebuild mountain blocking city under the invasion of the demon beast tide, or all of you die here." If the previous few pieces of news had only made them feel shocked and fearful, then this order from the imperial city was the last straw that broke the camel's back. The Shenwu dynasty had abandoned them, no, the entire 7 border cities. This order ordered them not to retreat even half a step. Even if all of them had to die here, they had to drag the demon beasts out of the Hingduan mountain range to death here. At least before the Shenwu dynasty could transfer extra troops over, whether they could survive or not would completely depend on their own strength. Compared to the 7 border cities that could be rebuilt at any time, the Shenwu dynasty was obviously more concerned about the joint invasion of the Qingjiang dynasty and the Shuangjin dynasty. As for the news from the southern coastal area, although it was strange that it happened at this time, the imperial capital probably did not care about the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. After all, the land environment was not suitable for the demonic beasts to live in. Incidents of fishing villages and ships being dragged to the bottom of the sea by the demonic beasts happened almost every year. The Shenwu dynasty had long gotten used to it. What should we do? Commander Li felt a headache coming on, and a faint bitterness appeared on his face. This was the first time he had left Shenlin Jun to carry out a mission. He did not expect to be forced into a desperate situation. Run! Lei Fan did not even think about it. He straightened his body and said expressionlessly, "The 7 border cities have been abandoned by the Shenwu dynasty. If we continue to fight alone, we will only end up being eaten by the demonic beasts. If we want to continue to live, the only way is to give up the other 6 cities and gather in Shunning City to fight the demonic beasts in the Hingduan mountain range. Maybe we will still have a chance to survive." The 7 border cities were destroyed one by one. It was already a matter of time. At this time, it would be the stupidest thing to do if they still stayed on their own land. Only when the people and civilians of the 7 cities gathered in Shunning City would they have the strength to fight. Furthermore, Shunning City was also a border city. As long as Shunning City was not breached, the demonic beasts would not escape to the Shinwu dynasty. They would have completed their mission. Even if they were not rewarded after the war, they would not be punished. After the Shinwu dynasty defeated the Qingjiang dynasty and the Shuangjin dynasty, they would naturally send reinforcements to Shunning City and not other places. How are we going to leave? Captain Li licked his lips and said in a deep voice, Zhanshan City has just been built. The materials transferred from various places are very valuable. If we bring these things with us, we will definitely not be able to outrun the demonic beasts. But if we don't bring them, the dynasty might not transfer a second batch of resources. When the time comes to build Zhanshan City, do you think we can think of a way to build it ourselves? There were many aristocratic families in the Shinwu dynasty, and most of them had the strength to rule over a region. However, if they were to take out a sum of resources to build a city, they would probably empty these so-called aristocratic families in an instant. Only the dynasty had the ability to transfer idle resources from various places. If they did not have this batch of resources, how could they build Zhanshan City? Would they go to the surrounding areas to cut down trees and quarry stones, and then build a city that would collapse with a slight push from the demonic beasts? Luo Su scratched his head and pulled out a bunch of his hair. A trace of madness flashed in his eyes as he growled, "At this time, tell me directly. Do you want money or your life? I know the importance of resources, but if you die, even if Zhanshan City can be built, it will have nothing to do with you. I'm just stating facts." Captain Li snorted coldly and turned his head to the side. Money or my life? If Zhanshan City could not withstand the demonic beasts, even if they could survive this time, when the demonic beast horde comes again in the future, would he still expect his subordinates to rush up and fight the demonic beasts on the plains? All right. Stop arguing. Captain Li, Luo Su, you guys organize a retreat and head directly to Shunning City. Lei Fan rubbed his forehead with a headache and said in a deep voice, as for this batch of resources, I will think of a way to deal with it. I can't guarantee that I can protect all of it, but protecting 70% of it should not be a problem. The most important thing now is to organize a retreat. Don't quarrel here, it will only be a waste of time. 180 monthly tickets will be sent to you. Chapter 225. Rumble. Rumble. The clear sky turned gloomy in an instant. Dark clouds covered the sky, refusing to let out even a trace of sunlight. Sir's eyes narrowed slightly, and a hint of fear flashed through his eyes. When he followed the mark on the black snake's body to this place, he could feel a powerful aura. However, the aura from before was faintly discernible, so he did not take it to heart. However, the scene in front of him made him suck in a breath of cold air. Before it was even born, it had already caused a vision of heaven and earth. What kind of existence did this aura belong to? Scram! In the void, a cold voice sounded, without the slightest emotion, like a high and mighty king. The fire Kirin had just been resurrected not long ago, and a large amount of its life force had been exhausted. There were still countless scattered life forces flowing in the formation, so it did not want to fight with this strange existence from the desolate demon realm. It just wanted to drive these annoying guys away, and then hide in the Sumra world to recuperate for a while. As for the purpose of these monsters and this existence from the desolate demon realm coming to the ghost's domain, although the fire Kirin did not ask, when it saw that the other party had been looking for something here, it guessed that they were most likely here for the black serpent, which seemed to be hiding countless secrets. Not to mention the bloodline power in the black serpent's body that was transforming, which made it feel oppressed. Just the black serpent's ability to ignore the great devouring formation and the ability to instantly turn its prey into its own energy were all things that an existence at the level of the fire Kirin coveted. Therefore, the fire Kirin had never thought of handing over the black serpent. Compared to offending this existence from the desolate demon realm, the fire Kirin hoped that it could monopolize the benefits from the black serpent. Ha, a monster that has just entered the desolate demon realm dares to threaten me. Sir's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he lowered his voice and said, "If I am unhappy, I can tear a guy like you into countless pieces at any time. Let me ask you, have you seen a black serpent during this time? I advise you to tell the truth. Otherwise, I will definitely make you regret it." Although His Excellency had spoken ruthlessly, he still could not find the fire Qilin's hiding place. However, His Excellency's experience was not something an ordinary demonic beast could compare to. Even if he was not confident, he still looked straight ahead with an indifferent expression and used a threatening tone to talk to the fire Qilin. This ghost's domain was indeed very strange. The tracing mark on the black snake's body showed that it was here, but its master had searched through the entire ghost's domain and still could not find the black snake. Now, there was a desolate demon realm aura that could even communicate with it, but it could not find the other party's location. Black snake. I have indeed seen one, but... The fire Kirin paused for a moment, and a mocking look flashed through its flame-like eyes. Who do you think you are? Even if the beast Lord Kirin were to personally come, he would still have to show some respect to me. How dare you threaten me? It seems like the Hingduan mountain range has declined quite a bit over the years. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks they are invincible. Although the difference between the desolate demon realm and the desolate demon realm was only one realm, they were also divided into different levels. How powerful was the fire Kirin in the past? It was a peerless monster that could directly enter the depths of the Hingduan mountain range and challenge the beast Lord Kirin's rule. Although his lord's body was hiding a considerable amount of power, in the eyes of the fire Kirin, he was just a slightly more powerful monster. It even felt that it did not need to recover its full strength. As long as it could use 60% of its peak strength, it could easily deal with this arrogant guy. How dare you? How dare you call the beast Lord Kirin so directly? His lord's face darkened and he said with a hoarse voice, "A mere clown dares to boast so shamelessly. It seems like you are not a monster of the Hingduan mountain range. But no matter, when I catch you, this one will naturally teach you how to respect the Hingduan mountain range's master." Everything that happened in the Hingduan mountain range seemed to be under the control of the beast Lord Kirin. Almost every year, there would be hundreds of monster suppression groups hidden in the Hingduan mountain range that were destroyed. There were also countless monster clans that did not abide by the rules that were destroyed. However, they often did not know how the beast Lord Kirin knew what they were doing in secret. Even for an existence like his lord, if he wanted to move freely in the depths of the Hingduan mountain range, he would have to praise the beast Lord Kirin from time to time to prevent himself from being caught by the other party. Then let's talk about it when you find me. The fire Kirin sneered and said provocatively, "The black snake you are looking for is in my hands. Whether or not you can take it away from me will depend on your own ability. After all, trash like you probably won't be able to find me even when the world is destroyed." When the fire Kirin finished speaking, his lord was slightly startled. Then, a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. Dragon bloodline monsters could be the harvester of the heart of purgatory, but the black snake was different. The black snake had an extremely pure dragon bloodline. He had a vague premonition that after the black snake harvested the heart of purgatory, he would be able to completely shed his ugly true form and become a noble dragon by eating the black snake. Therefore, he had protected the black snake at all costs during this period of time, even going as far as to offend the Green Marsh clan, a clan that had 3 desolate demon realm experts, in order to smoothly carry out his plan. However, now that the black snake had fallen into the hands of this unknown desolate demon realm monster instead of him, he suddenly felt uncertain. After all, the black snake had an incomparably pure dragon bloodline. Even the experts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas wouldn't dare to say that their bloodline was superior to the black snake's. Faced with this level of temptation, very few monsters could resist the desire to devour the black snake. Although he didn't know what the hidden fellow was thinking about the black snake, he was sure that once he squeezed the black snake dry, he would definitely not let go of the pure dragon bloodline. At the same time, this also meant that there was no room for negotiation between the two sides. Once they met, there would only be a battle. "My lord, I found it." A gray mouse that was following the group of monsters suddenly raised its head and shouted with a face full of surprise. The group of demonic beasts were all attracted to the scene. The white mouse circled around in place a few times, as if it was confirming something. Then, its two front legs began to dig wildly. It actually dug out a passageway in the void. A hollow treasure-seeking mouse. The Fire Kirin's surprised voice suddenly sounded, as if it didn't expect such a monster to exist among its opponents. Chapter 226. Kirin couldn't help but be surprised. This was because the space-digging treasure-seeking mouse had almost gone extinct in the era when it was still active. Other than a few fellows who escaped into the void, all of them were killed. Even those who survived did not dare to enter the main plane. There was no other reason other than that this creature was too monstrous. The establishment and positioning of the Sumera world required a Kongming or desolate demon realm existence to build a suitable tomb before they died. Although some of them did have the intention of letting their descendants enter their Sumera world to take away their inheritance and treasures, most of them just wanted to let themselves be at peace after death. However, these space-digging treasure-seeking mice didn't care about that. Once they located the Sumera world, they would aggressively dig a void tunnel and bring their master and companions into the Sumera world. This kind of behavior was even more tyrannical than the so-called grave robbers in Lin Yuan's previous life. After all, grave robbers still followed the rules. At most, they would dig a hole. Moreover, some things couldn't be touched, so they wouldn't touch them easily. They wouldn't do anything that would humiliate the dead. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse wasn't an ancient species. It was a hybrid product created by humans using various demon beasts for breeding experiments. It had almost no combat power, but it could use its claws to dig a hole in the void. A desolate demon realm space-digging mouse could travel millions of miles in the void a year ago and easily locate a Sumera world attached to the main plane. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse following His Excellency wasn't a powerful existence. It was only at the Wisdom Realm level 3 and couldn't even withstand a tail attack from Lin Yuan. However, after such a long time, it had no problem locating a Sumera world. I was wondering why an unfamiliar demon beast from the desolate demon realm would appear. So it's the filthy thing that stole Senior's tomb. See if I don't drag you out and teach you how to respect your seniors. His Excellency's eyes flashed with greed. If this Sumera world could create a desolate demon realm existence, then the treasures inside definitely wouldn't be inferior. In addition, the other party's aura was weak. Obviously it had just broken through not long ago. This also meant that it hadn't completely devoured the things in the Sumera world. If it could devour the other party and obtain the treasures in the Sumera world, even if the black snake died in the process, it would only feel pity. Within Sumera world. As the creator of Sumera world, the Fire Kirin could feel the connection between its Sumera world and the main world becoming clearer and clearer. The gloominess in its eyes could not be dispelled. It only wanted the beasts outside to leave as soon as possible. It did not expect that there would be a treasure-hunting mouse in the group, which directly located the location of this Sumera world. Turning its gaze, the Fire Kirin fixed its gaze on the black serpent that was roaming around the Sumera world, hunting down the weak. Its eyes narrowed as it began to plan. After this period of observation, it had a certain understanding of the black snake's devouring power. It was a power that was countless times stronger than its own. The moment it killed its opponent, it could extract all the energy in its opponent's body and then transform it into a part of its own. With such an ability, as long as the black snake did not die prematurely, it would become a giant existence in this world sooner or later. Black Serpent, you're the one who caused this trouble. I have no obligation to risk my life for you. A trace of hatred flashed through the fire Kirin's eyes. In the next moment, it began to operate the devouring array, gathering the constantly roaming life force. From its originally almost invisible state, the life force even formed a huge milky white ball of light. Then, it shot directly in Lin Yuan's direction. Lin Yuan, who was chasing a mountain lord realm beast, sensed something whistling behind him. He instinctively turned his head to look behind him, only to see a dazzling but not blinding white light. Soon after, his entire serpent was enveloped by the white light. Enveloped by the white light, Lin Yuan felt a comfortable warmth all over his body, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. That was not all. The system broadcast continuously appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Ding! The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. Ding! The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. Ding! The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. The free attribute points on the interface were jumping wildly. Lin Yuan resisted the tiredness brought about by the extreme comfort of his body and opened the interface. He began to add the free attribute points to his own attributes. Soon, Lin Yuan felt some special changes taking place in his body. However, these changes did not appear. Instead, they were stuck there. This feeling of neither going up nor down made Lin Yuan feel even more tormented. Humph! You got lucky. The fire Kirin snorted coldly. Finally, it glanced at Lin Yuan, who had turned into a white cocoon of light, and a trace of pity flashed across its eyes. In addition to the life force needed to be paid for its resurrection, the fire Kirin had also accumulated another batch of life force. Its purpose was to quickly heal its injuries after its resurrection. However, now that a powerful enemy was at its doorstep, absorbing life force was not something that could be done overnight. Naturally, the fire Kirin did not dare to absorb the life force itself. After much consideration, the fire Kirin decisively poured the life force into Lin Yuan's body. It could sense that the monsters outside did not have the slightest bit of goodwill toward this black snake. Therefore, they had probably come here to capture this black snake, and it was just a dispensable addition. Although it was not at its peak, it was still in existence in the wilderness demon realm. The other party might not have the courage to fight to the death with it. Therefore, it felt that under such tempting circumstances, the other party would definitely let it go. However, a cold glint flashed across the fire Qilan's eyes as it looked at the shattered void barrier. After all, it was a formidable existence. How could it leave with its tail between its legs after being forced into such a state by a junior that it did not even have an impression of? At the very least, it had to let the other party know what pain was. A ball of orange-red flames condensed in front of the fire Kirin and swept directly toward the void tunnel. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse, which had just stuck out half of its head, was slightly startled. It instinctively fled toward the void tunnel. However, the difference in strength between the two parties was too great. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse had just turned around when it was devoured by the fireball. It turned into a pile of ashes and fell into the void tunnel. Chapter 227. You're courting death. His Excellency's cold roar rang out from the other side of the void tunnel. The rarity of the hollow treasure-seeking mouse was enough to drive any faction crazy. After all, obtaining a hollow treasure-seeking mouse meant that as long as there was a Sumra world in the vicinity, it was equivalent to having the entire Sumera world in their pocket. Even if they didn't find the tomb of a powerhouse that could suppress an entire era, they would at least find a desolate demon realm or void netherworld realm existence. Just thinking about it made one realize how much of a resource this was. However, before His Excellency's follow-up plans could be carried out, the hollow treasure-seeking mouse was reduced to ashes by the Fire Kirin's fury, instantly shattering His Excellency's beautiful dream. What a pity. The Fire Kirin shook its head, a hint of desolation flashing through its eyes. The void tunnel dug by the hollow treasure-seeking mouse would only disappear under two circumstances. The first was when the hollow treasure-seeking mouse voluntarily closed the tunnel, and the second was when it was attacked by a powerful void turbulence. Therefore, even if the Fire Kirin killed the hollow treasure-seeking mouse, it would be useless. Its Sumera world was still connected to the main world, and everything here would be exposed to the outside world. Trespassing into my Sumera world, die. The Fire Kirin completely ignored Its Excellency's angry roar. Its eyes were cold as it stared at the void tunnel in front of it. The demonic beasts that had swarmed into the void tunnel were startled. They immediately faced the Fire Kirin and arched their backs, occasionally letting out threatening growls from their nostrils. However, under the pressure of the fireball just now, these demonic beasts still didn't dare to offend the dignity of a desolate demon realm existence. Not a single demonic beast dared to step forward and provoke it. A bunch of trash. Get out of my way. Its Excellency's exasperated voice rang out. Soon after, a huge dragon head slowly reached into the void tunnel. The Fire Kirin's 4 feet were ablaze as it stepped into the void. It looked at the huge dragon head with a hint of contempt in its eyes. Another one who had gone crazy from wanting to transform into a dragon. As a member of the Kirin clan whose bloodline was as noble as the dragon clan's, the Fire Kirin could sense that the other party only had a thin trace of the dragon clan's bloodline. Furthermore, the dragon clan's aura was not fused with the Fire Kirin clan's. It was obvious that the dragon clan's bloodline had been plundered. In terms of bloodline, the dragon clan's bloodline was far inferior to the Black Serpent's. Yet, the dragon clan had chosen to disguise itself as a dragon clan member. Wasn't that insane? Fire Kirin, His Excellency and Hua Kirin looked at each other. Suddenly, their expressions froze and they couldn't help but cry out. Back then, the Fire Kirin had challenged the position of Beast Lord Kirin and was hunted down by all the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. In a panic, the Fire Kirin fled to the outskirts of the Hengduan mountain range and disappeared without a trace. This was a rumor circulating among the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. However, after so many years, no one had seen the Fire Kirin again. Not even its corpse could be found. Who would have thought that it would see the Fire Kirin again in this place? That's right, again. It had been dormant in the Hengduan mountain range for a long time and had never found a suitable opportunity to blend in. If it weren't for the Fire Kirin incident, which led to the death of a large number of demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range, it wouldn't have the status and power it had today. Therefore, when it saw the Fire Kirin again, its feelings were extremely complicated. The Fire Kirin pawed its hooves in mid-air and sneered, "Why are you so stunned? Let's keep going." As one of the legends in the Hengduan mountain range, the Fire Kirin knew very well that Its Excellency had recognized its true identity. That was why it had such an expression. His Excellency pondered for a moment, and a pair of vertical pupils swept across the Fire Kirin. He said coldly, "Fire Kirin, you are my senior. I can give you face today and let you leave safely, but you must give me the Black Serpent and this Sumera world. Then, you must keep this matter a secret, otherwise, after that incident with me, the Beast Lord Kirin's desire to control the Hengduan mountain range is almost pathological. Young man, you have gathered so many demon beasts here. Do you think the Beast Lord Kirin knows about what happened here?" The Fire Kirin narrowed its eyes slightly and sneered, "You don't have to pretend with me. I am a fire divine beast. I can tell at a glance that the flames in your bodies are different from ordinary flames. Are you sure you want to give me face, or are you worried that other demon beasts will discover your secret? When its voice fell, the fire Kirin slowly raised its chin. Fire snakes surrounded the white cocoon that wrapped Lin Yuan. His Excellency was slightly startled, and panic appeared in its eyes again. Although it did not know what the white cocoon was, at such a close distance, it could intuitively feel the tracking mark on the black serpent, so it was 80% sure that the black serpent was in the cocoon. It temporarily regarded the white cocoon as a means for the fire Kirin to bind Lin Yuan. The fire Kirin's meaning was very clear. Either everyone showed their sincerity, whether it was the Sumra world or the black serpent, it was not that it could not give them, but His Excellency also had to pay a corresponding price. Otherwise, the first thing the fire Kirin would do was to burn the black serpent under its control, and then go all out to make a big fuss, attracting the attention of all the high-level demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range, and then everyone would die together. His Excellency licked its nose, and the panic in its vertical pupils was instantly suppressed. It said in a deep voice, "Tell me, what do you want me to give you in exchange for the Sumra world and the black serpent?" After knowing the other party's purpose and confirming that it was not impossible to negotiate, His Excellency was naturally not as panicked as it was at the beginning. As its mind gradually calmed down, His Excellency's thoughts gradually increased. It's very simple, I need a reasonable identity. After all, even if the outside environment has changed, we demon beasts can only live in the Hengduan mountain range. So when we meet some high-level demon beasts, I still need an identity that can fool them. I think this is not difficult. After all, if you can do it, then you can definitely help me do it. In addition, I haven't left the Sumra world for a long time, and I've long been tired of it. You have to help me prepare a feast. Remember, only demon beasts with special bloodlines or talented humans are qualified to be my blood food. For the time being, these are my 2 requests. If you can agree, then we can talk. If you don't, hee. The fire Kirin stretched its body and slowly put forward its request. This, His Excellency's eyes flashed with doubt. The fire Kirin's request was actually not excessive. It could even be said that it was a little too simple. If these conditions could be exchanged for a Sumra world, then it would accept as many as there were. Chapter 228. Oh no! Sir Kirin was startled and snapped out of his contemplation. At the same time, the entire Sumra world began to tremble. Cracks that looked like glass appeared on the space barrier. The slightest contact would result in a bloody mess or even a broken limb. Sir Kirin's expression darkened. He abruptly pulled his head out of the void tunnel and looked at the collapsed space tunnel in front of him. A look of contemplation flashed across his eyes. He sensed that something was wrong. He also realized that the fire Kirin was playing tricks on him. However, he did not expect that the fire Kirin would dare to directly detonate the entire Sumra world. In this way, this well-hidden Sumra world would completely collapse in the endless void. Everything in Sumra world would completely vanish. Unless the fire Kirin had already set up a teleportation array in Sumra world. The moment Sumra world collapsed, the fire Kirin was directly teleported to some place in the main plane. Yes. That must be it. Sir Kirin's eyes flashed with a dangerous cold light. If the fire Kirin had the thought that it would rather die than let Sir Kirin obtain Sumra world, it would not have wasted so much time talking nonsense with Sir Kirin. It should be multitasking. On one hand, it was stalling for time. On the other hand, it was adjusting the time of Sumra world's explosion. On the other hand, it was also activating the teleportation array. Sir Kirin calmed down and sensed for a moment. Then, Sir Kirin shook his head gloomily. Sumra world had collapsed too quickly. As a void tunnel that was even more unstable than Sumra world, it was naturally the first to collapse. If Sir Kiran had not pulled out in time, it might have been decapitated by the void power. It would not have been able to investigate the existence of other arrays in Sumer world. As for the subordinates that were left behind in the void tunnel, their only fate was to die without leaving behind a corpse. This fire Kiran was an existence that had toyed with the entire Hingduan mountains in the past. It did things very cleanly and neatly. It did not even leave a trace behind. It was obvious that the teleportation array that it had set up in Sumra world was not near the ghost realm. It might not even be in the Hingduan mountains. Fire Kiran. You ruined my plans. I will definitely make you pay. His Excellency slapped the ground angrily, causing cracks to appear on the ground. He looked rather flustered and exasperated. Jiao Axian, so it was you who caused such a big commotion in the ghost's domain. A goshawk with 3 heads flew over and flapped its wings. It stared at Sir and said in a cold voice, "The Beast Master asked me to come and see what the unusual spatial fluctuation was. Mo Xin, the two of us are old friends, you don't have to make things difficult for me, right?" When the goshawk spoke, its eyes flickered with ridicule as if it did not take Mo Axian seriously at all. It was extremely frivolous. The lord who was addressed as Moxibustion Heart narrowed his eyes slightly, but he did not answer the question immediately. In terms of territory, Moxibustion Heart and the Inferno demon beasts under its command combined could drown this goshawk and its subordinates with a spit of saliva. In terms of strength, Moxibustion Heart boasted that it could kill this goshawk within 3 rounds if it went all out. The pressure that this goshawk brought to Moxibustion Heart was not even as great as that black snake. However, this goshawk was the favorite servant of the Beast Master Kiran. Although it was not as good as Moxibustion Heart, it relied on the undisguised favor of the Beast Master. This goshawk was usually extremely arrogant. Its behavior was not only directed at Moxibustion Heart. Replying to Lord Chilei's question, "Just now I brought my subordinates here to search for a group of human demon slayers. I accidentally discovered the existence of a Sumra world. After confirming it, I asked my subordinates to dig a void tunnel and locate the Sumra world. As a result, I saw the fire Kiran inside. After a tough battle, the fire Kiran detonated the Sumra world, burying all my subordinates in the endless void. Only I was lucky enough to barely escape." Moxibustion Heart had no intention of lying. After all, according to the methods of the Beast Palace, the truth could be found out in a moment. Therefore, he only concealed some details. "What? Fire Kiran?" Chi Lei's expression changed. He stared at Moxibustion Heart with burning eyes and said in a deep voice, "Moxibustion Heart, don't think that we don't know what you are planning in secret. There are countless pairs of eyes watching you every day. I just want to hear what you are going to fabricate. I didn't expect you to mention that taboo. Do you know what you are talking about?" The name Fire Kiran was definitely a taboo in the Hingduan mountain range. Even a favorite subordinate like Chi Lei would have to bear the wrath of Beast King Kiran if he mentioned this name. Moxibustion Heart is speaking the truth. If Beast King doesn't believe me, you can check it at any time. Moxibustion Heart nodded slightly. There was no expression in his eyes. At this moment, it was certain that the Beast Lord Qilin had already suspected it due to its plans for the Purgatory's heart. It had specially arranged for Arresting Thunder to closely monitor it. However, during this period of time, Arresting Thunder's attention seemed to have been attracted by something, or perhaps it simply did not take the monitoring of it seriously. That was why it had said such ridiculous things. It was probably afraid that the Beast Lord Qilin would punish it. "Good. Even if what you said is true, then tell me, where is the Fire Kiran?" Chi Lei flapped his wings and looked around the forest. He said coldly, "That traitor can't not come out after detonating Sumra world, right? Don't tell me that after hiding in Sumra world for so long, the Fire Kiran's brain was damaged, and after you saw it, it immediately committed suicide." In addition to Moxibustion heart, there were some traces of monsters in the surroundings. It matched the information from the Monster King court. However, other than the demonic beasts that followed Ju Axayan, there were no traces of other demonic beasts, not to mention the fire Qilin. If the fire Qilin had really appeared, the entire forest would have been scorched. The fire Kirin is very cunning. It set up a teleportation formation in Sumra world and didn't have time to see it, so naturally I don't know where the fire Kirin is now. I'm only answering Master Chi Lei's question. The unusual spatial fluctuations here before were caused by the fire Kirin detonating its own Sumra world. Moxibustion heart glanced at Chi Lei. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with this idiot. If he had the time, he might as well search around and see if he could find any traces of the fire Kirin. Why waste his time talking nonsense with this idiot? When it came to the fire Kirin, even if it was just a joke, it was a big deal in the Hengduan Mountains. Chapter 229. Shenwu Dynasty, Shunning City. In the early years, Shunning City was actually just a checkpoint. When the ancestors of the Zhao clan built this checkpoint, it was to keep all the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range out of the Shenwu dynasty's territory. Almost every year when the monster tide came, countless heroes would die in this place. These years, as the structure of the 7 great dynasties was settled, the beast lord Kirin retreated from the world and the influence of the Hengduan mountain range became smaller and smaller. Shunning City and the 6 outposts outside became the 7 border cities today. At this moment, a young man wearing a red robe with cloud patterns was slowly moving forward with the crowd entering Shunning City with his hands behind his back. However, at this moment, he did not notice that dozens of eyes were looking at him. These eyes belonged to some local ruffians who came from all over the world. Usually, they were idle and took advantage of the fact that they still had some strength to bully ordinary people. It was basically their source of happiness and income. They had been gathering in Shunning City for a long time. After all, the people from the few nearby cities had brought their families to Shunning City. Almost all of their belongings were with them. Except for those who looked particularly poor, they could rob anyone and live a carefree life for a long time. In the end, they would distribute the loot to the mercenaries of the merchant union who were responsible for the defense. Naturally, there would be someone to cover for them and they did not need to worry about being held accountable. As for whether those who were robbed could survive or not, what did that have to do with them? Brother me, we found a fat sheep. A burly young man with a scar on his face trotted to a middle-aged man who was sitting next to the tower with a flattering smile on his face. Brother me nodded and slowly stood up from the ground. He stretched out his hand and patted the dust on his butt. Then, he looked in the direction that the young man with a scar was pointing at. With just a glance, Brother me's face suddenly became gloomy. Scar, is this the big fish you told me about? Brother me almost broke his back molars as he squeezed out word by word from the gap between his teeth. Yes, is there a problem? Brother me, Scar nodded, a trace of doubt in his tone. The young man who was wearing a red robe with cloud patterns had a fair complexion. Not to mention doing manual labor, he probably didn't even get much exposure to the sun. The material of his clothes was quite good, at least much better than the young masters he had seen before. Also, the accessories worn by this young man weren't bad either. A few of his brothers who had been grave robbers in the past said that the accessories worn by this young man were all made of the best materials. The worst one was an item from hundreds of years ago. No matter which one of them was put up for auction, it would probably be worth a fortune. Most importantly, this rich young master was moving around alone. They had been watching for a while and were certain that this rich young master did not have any attendants by his side. He did not even have any experts protecting him in the dark. This was an excellent opportunity. Normally, who would not have dozens of fat and strong guards by his side? If you want to die, then go ahead and die. Don't drag me down with you. This kid isn't someone we can afford to offend. Brother Me waved his hand in annoyance. The expression on his face was incomparably cold. His originally good mood had been ruined by the lack of judgment of these people. That young man indeed did not have any experts protecting him. But that did not mean that he was a pushover. This bunch of ignorant fellows could see that the young man's clothes were not ordinary, and that he was wearing all sorts of priceless accessories. The only thing they did not see was the small pendant hanging from each of his wrists behind his back. That was one of the Demon Slayer Guild's greatest creations, the Demon Slayer pouch. Under the condition that demonic beasts were willing or unconscious, they could be stored in the Demon Slayer pouch and carried around by the Demon Slayer Guild. However, the cost of making a Demon Slayer pouch was simply too high. It was not something an ordinary Demon Slayer master could afford to equip. Ordinary demonic beasts were also not worth wasting a Demon Slayer pouch to transport. Brother Me used to be one of the logistics members of the Demon Slayer Guild. So the moment he saw the Demon Slayer pouch, he felt some fear towards this unfamiliar young man. After all, if the Demon Slayer pouch did not contain any demonic beasts, it should be transparent like glass. However, the two Demon Slayer pouches hanging from the young man's wrists were black. It was obvious that there were two demonic beasts with extraordinary cultivation inside. According to the various conclusions, this young man was either a top Demon Slayer master of the Demon Slayer Guild, or a genius disciple groomed by some sect. Or perhaps, he was a follower of someone like the former. As for the possibility that he was a fellow Demon Slayer Guild member pretending to be a fat sheep to take advantage of the situation, that was not very likely. Although such things had happened in the past, there was really no fellow Demon Slayer Guild member in the vicinity who could take out such a large amount of wealth. But, Brother Me. Scar's lips parted, a trace of hesitation in his eyes. A fat sheep that was rich to such an extent was hard to come by in 1,000 years. It wasn't easy for him to bump into one. Should he just watch as the other party slipped away right under his nose? I've already said it. If you want to die, go ahead. I'm not doing this deal. Don't implicate me. Brother Me's eyes flashed with a cold light. Seeing how Scar was unable to move his eyes away, Brother Me knew that he wouldn't be able to persuade this bunch of bastards to go to their deaths. Right now, he could only pray that the other party's temper wasn't that bad. At the very least, he wouldn't vent his anger on him after killing these ignorant hooligans. One knew that he couldn't afford to offend such an existence, while the other was unwilling to let such a large amount of wealth slip away just like that. Thus, their previous discussion naturally ended on a sour note. 5 minutes later, Scar returned to his seat with a face full of indignation. He spat to the side with disdain and said coldly, "What's there to be proud of? Didn't you just work as a support staff for the Demon Slayer Guild for a period of time? Didn't you still get chased away by the Demon Slayer Guild? Can't afford to offend them. They're both carrying a head on their shoulders. How strong can a weak-looking brat be? Brother Scar. Brother Scar." Seeing that Scar had returned, more than 10 hooligans gathered around him. Their slightly turbid eyes were fixed on Scar's face. Scar raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Brother Me has something to do at the last minute, so he can't participate in this operation. However, that brat doesn't have any bodyguards by his side. If we all rush up and snatch him away, he won't be able to do anything to us. At worst, we can just go to another city and hide our identities. In any case, once we get the money, we can do whatever we want." Ha 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 ha. The group of hooligans also laughed along with him. Chapter 230. Idiots. Brother Me, who was standing on top of the city gate tower, narrowed his eyes and looked at the group of thugs below. He wasn't sure if these people, who were blinded by money, would have the chance to go to other cities and hide their identities. However, he believed that he could still make it if he ran away now. Otherwise, the impact of more than a dozen corpses on the street would be huge. Even if these dead fellows were all ruffians and scoundrels that no one loved, but under the situation where the demon beast was about to rush out of the Hengduan mountain range and flatten the 7 border cities, the hearts of the people who were already in a state of panic might not be able to withstand the slightest provocation, right? Stirring up trouble at this time was equivalent to making an enemy of the entire Shenwu dynasty. Hiss. As soon as the thought of running away arose, Brother Mi subconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. That was because the young man in the crowd had appeared in front of him without him noticing. The senses of experts were very sharp. Even if it was just a glance, they could easily find the source, let alone the people who were pointing at them. Therefore, Brother Mi wasn't surprised that the young man would come looking for him. What frightened him was the young man's silent, ghost-like movements. The young man left the crowd without a sound, left the sight of Scar's group of thugs, and suddenly appeared in front of him. Brother Mi was able to work for the Demon Slayer Guild before, which meant that his level of training was not low. While he was not as good as those frontline combatants, he was still firmly among the ranks of airborne realm fighters thanks to the resources provided by the Demon Slayer Guild. It was precisely because of his level of training that Scar's team was able to take over one of Shunning City's gates. Taking advantage of a burning house was never a person's idea. There were actually many groups like Scar's in Shunning City. However, most of them were not strong enough, so they could only find some prey that was missed by others. They could barely make a living. People like Scar's group, who were directly near the city gates, could naturally pick the best prey. "Where are you going?" The young man showed a perfect smile on his face and slowly asked. Brother Mi was speechless for a moment. However, a hint of doubt flashed across his heart. Although he had been observing some details of the other party's body, the distance was too far and he couldn't see clearly. Now that he was face to face, he realized that the young man in front of him didn't seem to be a human. Although his skin was pale due to not being exposed to the sun all year round, it was definitely not as pale as this. His entire person looked like a piece of white paper. More importantly, under such pale skin, Brother Mi could not find any meridians or blood vessels. This fellow seemed to be a puppet. "My lord, there is no enmity between us. There is no need for this, right?" Brother Mi narrowed his eyes as a helpless expression appeared on his face. He said in a deep voice, "Seeing that I'm not a threat to you, I'll have to trouble you to lift your hand and let me live." Previously, Brother Mi was only worried about provoking a formidable character. Now, Brother Mi wished he could stay as far away from this puppet as possible. Because the one controlling the puppets might not necessarily be a human. Those demonic beasts who had dealings with human forces also liked to control the puppets to enter human territory. The demonic beasts' true bodies were hidden in the demon subduing pouch while they controlled the puppet's body. Similar situations had happened before. During the most tragic period of the war between humans and demonic beasts, many human cities were destroyed by the demonic beasts. But you've already provoked me. Now, I'll give you 2 choices. 1. Prepare a quiet place for me to live. 2. I'll kill you right now. The young man said slowly with a mocking smile on his face. All right. I'll bring you there." Brother Mi sighed helplessly. He knew that his fate had come. No matter what, he couldn't escape. Therefore, he could only pray that this fellow in front of him wasn't a spy sent by the demonic beasts. Otherwise, once Shunning City fell, not only would he have to die, even those who were slightly related to him wouldn't be able to escape. Brother Mi led the way in front while the young man followed behind expressionlessly. Both parties were at peace. No one was playing any tricks. It wasn't until they entered a dark alley that the young man behind Brother Mi frowned slightly. He slowly placed his right hand on his waist, as if he was ready to draw his weapon at any time. Brother Mi was suddenly shocked. He turned his head to look at the young man with a terrified expression. Was the other party ready to kill him? Brother me, TSK. I treat you as my brother. Yet, you're playing tricks behind my back. Dao Ba's sarcastic voice suddenly rang out. Accompanied by the sound of sticks rubbing against the ground, more than 10 hoodlums came out of the alley, dragging sticks and short knives. Each of them looked at Brother Me with a cold expression. This is someone you can't afford to offend, is it? Brother Me, you're not the only one with a brain. You're just trying to scare us off so that you can keep this wealth for yourself. Dao Ba raised the short knife in his hand and pointed it at Brother Me. His eyes flashed with coldness. He wasn't here specifically to ambush Brother Me. It was just that the fat sheep that he had his eyes on earlier had disappeared into the crowd in a few turns. Their trip here was for naught. Hence, they wanted to ease their relationship with Brother Me and find another suitable prey. However, they didn't expect to see Brother Me and this young man on their way home. In an instant, a wave of anger rushed to the top of his head. Dao Ba didn't even think before he drew his short knife and blocked Brother Me's path home. Dao Ba, I'm not. Brother Me opened his mouth and wanted to explain. However, when he thought of the mysterious identity of the young man behind him, Brother Me tactfully kept his mouth shut. If this bunch of hoodlums insisted on fighting, they would be the ones to die. If he said anything, not only would it not change the outcome of this bunch of hoodlums, it would also cost him his life for no reason. Thinking of this, Brother Me could only sigh softly. Good words couldn't persuade a damned ghost. You're not what? At this point, you're still trying to lie to me. Brother Me, touch your conscience and tell me, what have we done wrong to you? Every time we catch a fat sheep, it's always me and my brothers who risk our lives at the front. However, when it comes to splitting the loot, you're always the one who gets the biggest share. If this deal is successful, not only you, but all of us brothers will be rich men in the future. But what about you? You actually want to keep it all to yourself. The more Dao Ba thought about it, the angrier he got. He continuously used the tip of his knife to hit the wall of the alley beside him. His face revealed a crazed expression. Chapter 231. Brother Me remained silent as he listened to Scar's words. He had to admit that Scar was right. He was never present during the robbery, but when it came to splitting the money, he would definitely get the most. However, he had a clear conscience when it came to this money. He was the one who paid to bribe the merchant union. He was also the one who defeated the other gangs one by one when they wanted to seize the precious land of the city gate. If it wasn't for him, an airborne realm existence, would these gangsters, who were mostly below the mortal evolution realm, be able to do such a profitable business with no capital in Shunning City? Brother Me originally thought that there was no need for words between brothers. But now, it seemed that these brothers of his had never understood him. They even harbored enmity towards him, thinking that he shouldn't get a share of the money that was several times more than theirs. Seems like you're not very popular. The young man smiled, looking as if he didn't mind blowing things up. Who the **CK are you to speak? Kid, let me tell you, I call the shots on this street. If you still know who you can mess with and who you can't, then obediently hand over all your valuables. If I'm happy that you're throwing money at me, you can still get your worthless life back. Scar pointed his finger at the young man and cursed. When Scar's voice fell, the air seemed to have frozen, and the surrounding temperature dropped by a few degrees. It wasn't a psychological effect, but the temperature really dropped by a few degrees. Even the surrounding walls of the alley slowly condensed a thin layer of frost. You're awake so soon. The young man didn't pay attention to Scar. Instead, he shook the demon-subduing pouch on his right wrist with interest. A huge demonic aura flashed by, but at this moment, an even stronger force erupted from the young man's body, directly covering up this demonic aura. In this noisy Shunning City, that flash of demonic aura didn't arouse anyone's vigilance. The few people who noticed the existence of the demonic aura frowned slightly. They simply couldn't find the source of this demonic energy and completely lost all traces of it. They could only helplessly give up on continuing the search, but the vigilance in their hearts increased by a few levels. The soldiers and civilians of the other 6 cities at the border were gathering in Shunning City. Firstly, the city was crowded, and secondly, it was convenient for the demonic beasts to gather their forces. Although this was the best solution at the moment, many people were still dissatisfied. Every day, countless leaders were clamoring to change the status quo. Under such circumstances, their internal conflicts had not been solved yet, so how could they have the time to deal with the problems of the outside world? If the demonic beasts really appeared in Shunning City, the morale of the soldiers and the people that they had worked so hard to build would collapse in an instant. However, even though these big shots didn't notice the demonic power, it didn't mean that others didn't notice it. For example, Scar and the group of gangsters who were close by just now were all paralyzed with fear at this moment. They looked at the calm and composed young man with disbelief in their eyes. They really couldn't understand how this seemingly weak guy could release such a terrifying force. Even Dao Ba, who was the strongest among them, was only at level 6 of the mortal evolution state. In front of that demonic aura, Dao Ba didn't even have the right to stabilize himself. He almost knelt down. At this moment, Dao Ba's face was full of despair. Suddenly, he remembered what Brother Mi said before. This young man was indeed not a fat sheep, but a ferocious beast that they could never provoke. Luckily, I didn't cause a big mess. The young man shook his head gently and put his right hand behind his waist again. He said in a deep voice, "By the way, where are we at just now?" "Oh, you asked me to hand over all my valuables. If you're in a good mood, you can still let me live, right?" The young man looked at Dao Ba with ridicule. He didn't stop walking and slowly approached his target. Dao Ba was so scared that tears flowed down his face. He used both his hands and feet to move backward. The fear in his eyes couldn't be suppressed. Although he was not in existence with great experience and strength, he had a deep understanding of the viciousness of the human heart after living on the edge of a blade for so long. It would still be fine if they did not provoke this young man earlier. However, now that they knew some of this young man's secrets, how was it any different from a fool's dream if they wanted to escape unscathed? Of course, I know what you're saying is bullsh*t. Whether I cooperate with you or not, I'm going to die in the end. The young man still had a gentle smile on his face, but he said in confusion, "But I'm very curious. How do you plan to kill me?" "Patter." The young man snapped his fingers and said, "Beat you to death." One thug suddenly groaned. All his bones and tendons were instantly broken, and he died on the spot. It looked like he was beaten up by a group of people and had his bones and tendons broken. Patter. Drowned. One of the thugs suddenly covered his mouth and nose. He struggled like a drowning person, but soon, he fell to the ground with a pale face and no longer made a sound. Patter. 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 The sound of fingers snapping echoed in his ears. The brothers that Dao Ba brought here died in all kinds of ways in this alley that people rarely passed by. Corpses of all kinds of shapes and sizes fell in front of Dao Ba. Devil. You're a devil. Dao Ba's tears, snot, and saliva flowed together. He looked at the young man who was getting closer and closer and shouted crazily. Under this kind of pressure that was close to despair, Dao Ba's heart had reached its limit. It was like a tightly stretched string. If it was touched slightly, he would directly break. Let's give him a quick death. Brother Mi suddenly opened his mouth and said. When his voice fell, he tilted his head slightly. These thugs gathered here were all his brothers in the past. Most of them were just nodding acquaintances with him. However, after interacting with them for a long time, he could still clearly remember their names and personalities. And now, fresh lives were falling in the young man's hands. It was as easy and laughable as if he had nothing better to do. In the end, when only Dao Ba, who was the closest to him, was left, Brother Mi could not help but beg for mercy for Dao Ba, who was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Bang! Dao Ba's head instantly exploded. Before he died, a clear smile of relief appeared on Dao Ba's face. I hope this is the last time I stop. Next time, if trouble comes knocking on my door, I'll get rid of you first. The young man glanced coldly at Brother Mi and said in a chilling voice. 200 monthly votes. Update. Chapter 232. Half an hour later. In a remote courtyard in the south of Shunning City. The young man put his hands behind his back and kept shaking the two demon-subduing pouches in his hands. After a while, two figures, one black and one red, were thrown out of the demon-subduing pouches. One was Lin Yuan, whose scales gave off a faint golden glow, and the other was the fire Kirin, whose fur fluttered without any wind, like clusters of burning flames. Ha, Black Serpent, you really didn't disappoint me. The speed at which you absorbed life energy is much faster than I expected. The fire Kirin pursed its lips and completely ignored the stunned Brother Mi. It turned its head and looked directly at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan glanced at the fire Qilin expressionlessly, without the slightest change in his expression. He was silently adapting to the surging power in his body, and at the same time, trying his best to suppress the demonic energy in his body to prevent it from leaking out. Even though the fire Kirin did not tell him where this place was, judging from the architectural style of the surrounding buildings, it was definitely not a place where demonic beasts lived. It was even more impossible for it to be a demi-human that lived more like barbarians. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Yuan had already realized that the fire Kirin had brought him from the Hingduan Mountains to a human city while he was unconscious. Why are you so cold? After all, I was the one who saved you. The fire Kirin smiled at Lin Yuan and said in a low voice, although I don't know what the relationship between you and that reptile is, I can feel that it has no good intentions towards you. If I didn't bring you out, you might have fallen into its hands by now. Why, don't you want to thank me? Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and said mercilessly, if I remember correctly, when we left the Sumer space, a large part of the life energy that enveloped me was extracted. This means that you didn't want to take me with you. You just needed the life energy around me to start the escape plan. Secondly, that guy is indeed very malicious towards me. But when you speak, don't you think about what you've done? If it wasn't for the fact that I've already digested all of your life energy, I'm afraid you wouldn't be talking nonsense with me right now. You'd probably be gnawing on my flesh right now, right? At this point, Lin Yuan paused and said coldly, also, where did you take me? Who knows? The fire Kirin evaded the question and said nonchalantly, the teleportation formation sent me to this godforsaken place. Moreover, we didn't have any combat power to speak of at that time. In order to get away from that insect, I could only bring you away from the Hingduan Mountains. Before leaving the Sumra world, the Kirin had indeed hesitated whether to take Lin Yuan with it. However, time was too tight, and it could only take the black serpent with it as food reserves. But the fire Kirin had never imagined that the black serpent would devour all the life energy in such a short time. Eating the black serpent now would not make up for it. It might as well temporarily join forces with the black serpent and leave this city full of human patrols first. The two of you. This is Shunning City, one of the 7 border cities of the Shenwu dynasty. It is also the last line of defense against the mystical beasts of the Shenwu dynasty. Now, the mystical beasts in the Hingduan Mountains are restless and have even rushed out of the buffer zone between the two forces. Except for some defenders who are unwilling to leave their homeland, the soldiers and civilians of the other 6 border cities are currently on their way to Shunning City. Right, this time, the mystical beasts in the Hingduan Mountains are extremely irritable. They have no intention of negotiating at all. Everyone they meet on the way is killed without hesitation. They have no intention of negotiating at all. It is said that a few days ago, the mystical beasts went on a killing spree. Even the emissary sent by the dynasty to negotiate was killed. Brother Mi, who felt an ice-cold knife pressing against his neck, immediately opened his mouth to show his worth. The Fire Kirin and Lin Yuan both made a nasal sound of suspicion at the same time. Did the Beast Master Kirin take the wrong medicine? The Hingduan Mountains is waging a full-scale war with the Shenwu dynasty at this time. Is he not worried at all that the other 6 dynasties will attack him? Or is it that the 2 of us have actually transmigrated to another world and the Hingduan Mountains here can directly suppress the other 7 dynasties? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with doubt. The Fire Kirin was also dumbfounded. It suspected that there was something wrong with its teleportation formation and it was directly pulled into the past. It's not what you 2 think. This time, it's not the Hingduan mountain range that wants to start a war with the Shenwu dynasty. Instead, the Shenwu dynasty seems to have offended someone very powerful. The 2 neighboring dynasties have launched an attack on the Shenwu dynasty's territory almost at the same time. The southern coastal area has also been fiercely attacked by the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas. As for the northern side, the Shenwu dynasty has given a death order to the 7 border cities. Even if we have to sacrifice our lives, we have to stop the demonic beasts outside the northern battlefront because the Shenwu dynasty can't transfer any troops to support us. Brother Mi explained in time again. After all, he had been drinking and eating with the mercenaries from the Merchant Union. Although he had completely lost the source of information from the Demon Slayer Guild, he still understood the current situation of the Shenwu dynasty. It was obviously a small boat that was swaying in a storm and could sink at any time. Lin Yuan and the Fire Kirin both fell silent. They thought that the Shenwu dynasty had done something that could make the Hingduan Mountains, which had been holed up for many years, go to war. They didn't expect that there was a hidden story behind this matter. However, what kind of power could command the 2 dynasties and the mystical beasts of the land and sea to launch an attack on the Shenwu dynasty at the same time? Have the people from Mountain Blocking City arrived at Shunning City? Lin Yuan suddenly glanced sideways and asked. Although his strength had improved greatly, he was still ridiculously weak compared to the Fire Kirin of the desolate demon realm. If both sides continued like this, even if he didn't become the Fire Kirin's food, he wouldn't be able to complete the bloodline advancement mission. If he could invite strong external help, there might be some hope. If the purple-eyed youth arrived at Shunning City, with the help of the Demon Emperor Guild's hidden forces, there might be a chance to kill the Fire Kirin. Mountain Blocking City. Brother Mi was slightly startled. After carefully deliberating for a moment, he said with uncertainty, "There is indeed a group of people from Mountain Blocking City. However, I don't know where they are stationed." "Milord, for you to ask this question, could it be that you have an enemy among those people from Mountain Blocking City? If my lord needs, I can help you find out where the people from Mountain Blocking City are stationed." Update with 220 monthly votes. Chapter 233. That would be troublesome, Lin Yuan opened his mouth and subconsciously added. However, before Lin Yuan could finish his sentence, a surge of pressure fell on Brother Mi, who was in the airborne realm, was faced with the pressure of a monster in the desolate demon realm. There was no need for him to resist. He immediately froze on the spot, not daring to move. Beads of cold sweat the size of soybeans kept oozing out of his forehead. Fire Kirin's eyes showed no emotion at all. It said in a deep voice, "Black Snake, I can't be bothered with your business, but we are now in the same group. Please think before you do anything." Once this guy is out of our control, he might betray us. Brother Mi's eyes instantly dimmed when he heard Fire Kiran's words. He originally thought that he could take advantage of this opportunity to escape the control of these two terrifying monsters. However, he did not expect that even after he had cooperated to such an extent, the other party still did not let down their guard against him. They did not even think about letting him leave this remote courtyard alive. Only the dead would keep secrets. Do you have any other choice if you don't trust him? Lin Yuan suddenly sneered and opened his mouth to ask, "You've absorbed the life energy, and so have I. Right now, I can clearly feel the stomach acid digesting my tissues to slow down my hunger. I don't believe that you don't feel it at all. Or are you not planning to buy food? You're going to eat me when you can't stand it anymore. Then what are you going to eat after you eat me? Are you going to starve to death here?" Absorbing a large amount of life energy to temper one's body could quickly increase one's strength, but the burden on the body was equally huge. At this moment, although Lin Yuan did not show anything on his face, he was already so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. He did not know what the Fire Kiran situation was at the moment, but he guessed that it was not much better than he was. They were both starving. "I can use puppets," Fire Kiran pondered for a moment, then said in a low voice without much confidence. When he entered the city, he was using a puppet. Of course, it wasn't that no one noticed him. However, since the puppet was carrying two demon-suppressing pouches, others only thought that it was a puppet used by the demon-suppressing guild to deliver goods. But when they entered the city, they still used the puppet to communicate with others. They also had to purchase large amounts of demonic beast meat and spiritual items to consume. For penniless paupers like Fire Kiran and Lin Yuan, even if they tried to rob them, they would still be beaten up by the guards of Shunning City. Don't be silly. If you had chosen to hide in a corner of the Hingduan Mountains, we wouldn't be in this situation where we don't even have a choice. However, you insisted on entering a human city. How long are you going to be stubborn for? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Leave this human alive. He will take care of everything for us during this period of time. Don't you like making deals? You are the great Fire Kiran. Just a little thing that you leak out from between your fingers is enough for this human to work for you." Lin Yuan was once a human as well. He used to live in the dark world. He had a very good grasp of the psychology of people like Brother Mi. It was useless to talk to this kind of person. Only when enough benefits were offered could they be moved. Anyway, humans can never be trusted. Fire Kiran shook its head. It was still firm in its opinion. In the past, it had been schemed against by cunning humans more than once or twice. Therefore, when faced with the choice of whether to let Brother Mi live or not, it still chose to get rid of this hidden danger instead of choosing to trust Brother Mi. It rejected Lin Yuan's suggestion without even discussing it. The despair in Brother Mi's eyes grew stronger. Although he could not see the specific cultivation of these two monsters, the black snake whose scales had turned from pale gold to black was obviously weaker than Fire Kiran in terms of aura. If Fire Kiran was determined to kill him, the black snake would not be able to protect him. Of course, humans can't be trusted. However, I have a way to make him trustworthy. A cold light flashed in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. The snake's body flashed and appeared behind Brother Mi in the blink of an eye. The snake, which had shrunk to the size of a normal poisonous snake, opened its mouth and bit Brother Mi's neck. Brother Mi felt a sharp pain in his neck. Following that, a warm current flowed into his body continuously, almost replacing 1/3 of the blood flow in his body. At this moment, Lin Yuan withdrew his poisonous fangs from Brother Mi's body. He glanced at the black rhombus-shaped mark on Brother Mi's neck and nodded in satisfaction. This was the upgraded skill of Dove Wine's poison, curse mark poison. Although the strength of this skill did not continue to increase, nor did it become a bug-level skill that could inexplicably poison the enemy, curse mark poison was still a better skill than dove wine's poison. This was because it could be stacked infinitely and could even replace all of the blood in the opponent's body. If Lin Yuan did not take the initiative to trigger the poison, even if Brother Mi's body was filled with curse mark poison, he would still be able to live like a normal person. Brother Mi clutched his neck in pain. His small eyes were filled with doubt. This black snake. Why did it rush up and bite me when it was talking? I've planted poison in this guy's body. With just a thought, the poison will completely explode and enter his heart. After 3 seconds, it will paralyze his heart. When that time comes, even the gods won't be able to save him. Lin Yuan had a smile in his eyes as he said, "Fire Qilin, as I said before, just a little thing leaked from between your fingers is enough to make this guy obedient to you." Fire Qirin's eyes turned slightly. After thinking carefully for a moment, its eyes suddenly brightened. It began to understand the black snake's meaning. People like Brother Mi could not be trusted. Not only to demon beasts, but also to humans. This kind of scum would not betray demon beasts for the righteousness of the race or the glory of the dynasty. There was only one reason why he betrayed Fire Qirin and Black Snake: he wanted to escape from the control of these two demon beasts. If he could not escape from this control, he naturally would not use the method of mutual destruction to expose the existence of these two demon beasts to the human experts. Of course, if too much time passed, Brother Mi could still lose control. That was why Black Snake wanted him to give some benefits. In this way, the two sides became some kind of cooperative relationship. Brother Mi received benefits and was restrained. He would definitely not betray them. Even when someone came to investigate, this man who was very popular in the underworld of Shunning City would take the initiative to help cover it up. 240 monthly votes to add more chapters. Chapter 234. The ups and downs of life were nothing more than this. Brother Mi was already prepared to die, but with the Black Snake's help, he actually managed to survive. He even obtained a decent cultivation technique from the Fire Qirin. Compared to this cultivation technique, his original cultivation method was completely trash. However, Brother Mi wasn't grateful to the Black Snake for saving his life. He even felt some hatred in his heart. Brother Mi's mentality was naturally within Lin Yuan's control. After all, this kind of scum who wantonly plundered the wealth of others for a moment of pleasure would never have a sense of gratitude. In terms of kindness, he couldn't compare to the demonic beasts. If it wasn't for Lin Yuan restraining him, he might have betrayed Lin Yuan and the Fire Qirin for more benefits. But in his heart, even if Brother Mi couldn't wait to skin them alive, he still had to cover for them with a smile. Let's go buy a batch of demonic beast flesh and spiritual items first. The Fire Qirin plucked a simple jade ring from the puppet's body and casually tossed it to Brother Mi. It didn't even look at Brother Mi during the whole process, showing a sleepy expression. Brother Mi, on the other hand, was shocked. He hurriedly stood up and caught the jade ring. He rubbed the jade ring in his hand as if it was his lover. His eyes seemed to be glowing. Brother Mi wasn't a professional appraiser, so he didn't know the quality of the jade ring's material. However, the craftsmanship was the work of a top craftsman from the Thousand Swords dynasty 300 years ago. The demon-subduing master guild branch he worked for had a similar jade ring. He would take it out and play with it from time to time. However, the jade ring in the hands of the branch president was far inferior to the one in his hand. Apart from its ornamental value, the cold touch of the jade ring on his skin caused his heart to tremble. The agitation and distress in his heart instantly disappeared. Clearly, it had the effect of calming his mind. Suppressing the ecstasy in his heart, Brother Mi quietly kept the jade ring. Although I don't like this jade thumb ring, it is undeniably a treasure. I don't mind if you keep it for yourself, but you have to think about whether your little bit of wealth is enough for the two of us to eat a meal." The Fire Kirin's voice suddenly rang out, completely dispelling Brother Mi's thoughts. With his current wealth, providing a meal for two demonic beasts would probably be enough to bankrupt him. Brother Mi nodded his head and quickly left the remote courtyard. "All right, Black Snake. We should talk about the matter between us now." After Brother Mi left, the Fire Qilin turned its head to the Black Snake and said in a deep voice, "I regret it now. I shouldn't have pulled you into my Sumra world. Now that my life force has been absorbed by you, and my Sumra world has been destroyed because of the strong enemy you provoked, how do you think I should settle this debt with you?" Sensing the killing intent surging from the Fire Kirin's body, Lin Yuan didn't reply. His different-colored eyes flickered, making the Fire Kirin unable to see through the Black Snake's thoughts. If the Black Snake was still wrapped in the life force, the Fire Kirin wouldn't hesitate at all and directly devour the life force along with the Black Snake. However, the Black Snake had already finished refining the life force, and its realm was still at the peak of the wisdom realm. It wasn't a bit more, and it wasn't a bit less. To the Fire Kirin, this was probably the strangest thing. The life force it had poured into the Black Snake wasn't a small amount. Even if it brought a pig here, it would be able to steadily raise it to the Mountain Lord realm, and it might even be able to make a breakthrough. However, since things had already turned out this way, the Fire Kirin could only sigh. After all, devouring a peak wisdom realm demonic beast wouldn't bring it any benefits. "Are you trying to pull me onto your war chariot and help you deal with the beast Lord Kirin?" Lin Yuan's eyes flashed as he suddenly asked. Having its thoughts exposed by the Black Snake, even the Fire Kirin's killing intent couldn't help but stiffen. Originally, when Lin Yuan didn't speak, it felt a bit embarrassed, as if it didn't have any prestige in the Black Snake's eyes. Now that the Black Snake had directly spoken its thoughts, it felt even more humiliated. "Stop dreaming. That's impossible." Lin Yuan didn't wait for the Fire Kirin's reply and decisively rejected it. Back then, when the Fire Kirin challenged the Beast Lord Kirin's rule and failed, the demonic beasts lost a part of the demonic beast forest. That was how some human cities were built. For example, the 7 border cities of the Shenwu dynasty had completely stabilized their position at that time. Therefore, from the demonic beast's point of view, the Fire Kirin wasn't a hero, but a sinner. In addition, after that incident, none of the demonic beasts of the Fire Kirin lineage were spared. They were all killed by the Beast Lord Kirin's ruthless methods. Even though the Fire Kirin had made a comeback, it didn't have any followers in the Hengduan mountain range. As for the human side, even if there were people who supported the Fire Kirin back then, those people had either aged or retired after so many years. A lone commander with only the strength of the desolate demon realm still wanted to overthrow the Beast Lord Kirin's rule. Lin Yuan really didn't know whether to say that the Fire Kirin was overthinking or that the Kirin was too stupid. "Hey, don't tell me that you don't have any thoughts about ruling the Hengduan mountain range. Black Snake, you have too many secrets. Even I may not be as mysterious as you. How can an existence like you be willing to stay in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range and be a little beast lord?" The Fire Kirin pursed its lips and said slowly with a mocking expression, "That reptile has designs on you. At the same time, it also destroyed my Sumra world. So, sooner or later, I will find trouble with it. In addition, if you want to continue climbing up, naturally there won't be a problem. However, when you reach the top, the Beast Lord Kirin will become your biggest obstacle. Black Snake, we have so many common enemies. If you don't cooperate with me, are you sure you can handle it?" Lin Yuan turned his head to the side and didn't have any intention of answering. After all, the Fire Kirin's bloodline had already been listed as a mission target. In addition, in the Sumra world, Lin Yuan and the Fire Kirin didn't get along very well. So, Lin Yuan only had killing intent for this legendary demon beast that came back to life because of its unwillingness to die. He didn't have any intention of being friendly with it. That kind of fake cooperation, what was the point of it? As for climbing up, Lin Yuan indeed had this idea. The division of power in the Tianwu continent had always been the 7 great empires, the Hingduan mountain range, and the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. Within each of the great empires, there were large and small sections. The land and sea demon clans also had various beast lords and commanders. The records recorded by the 3-eyed ape were exactly the same as what Lin Yuan had seen. There are 260 monthly votes for me to update. Chapter 235. However, at this moment, Lin Yuan's view of this world had already changed. It wasn't the 7 great empires or the 2 great demon clans that were at the top. There seemed to be an even more powerful force hidden in the darkness of this world. For example, the silver coin that Xia Xiu took out previously, and the 2 great demon clans joining forces with the empires to attack the Shenwu dynasty. All of these were reminders to the world that the true power that controlled this world was someone else. Since he hadn't forgotten about his blood feud because of reincarnation, wouldn't it be a waste if he didn't take revenge? Only by climbing to the top of this world would Lin Yuan have the qualifications to come into contact with those truly powerful existences. Sirs, I'm back. As the courtyard door was gently pushed open, Brother Mi returned to the courtyard with a flushed face. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Mission completed, great success. Obtained 1 chance to draw a skill. When the system notification rang out, it also reminded Lin Yuan that the fire Kirin, which had been hanging over his head like a steel knife, had completely let go of its killing intent towards him. Therefore, he was judged to be alive in this mission and had fulfilled the mission's requirements. Lin Yuan wriggled his snake body and walked towards the door. An abnormally rich meaty aroma assaulted his nostrils. It was obvious that Brother Mi had also bought some dishes made from the demonic beast's meat when he purchased the demonic beast's meat and the spiritual items. After being processed by humans, these dishes made from the spiritual items were even more delicious than the raw demonic beast's meat. At the same time, it was easier to digest the energy within the demonic beast's meat. Some of the spiritual items could even increase the energy within the demonic beast's meat. However, Lin Yuan was currently stuck at the pinnacle of the wisdom realm. Who knew when the advancement mission would be released? He wasn't interested in the energy within the dishes. Even if he refined it into attribute points, it wouldn't be much. He was more interested in the taste of the food and whether the amount was enough to fill his stomach. Brother Mi was constantly moving in and out of the courtyard, carrying huge sacks into the courtyard. Every time a sack landed on the ground, a huge amount of dust would fly up. Just by listening to the sound, Lin Yuan guessed that every sack here weighed at least 600 pounds. Brother Mi carried nearly 100 sacks in a row, yet he still did not look like he was panting at all. Such a task was naturally nothing difficult for an airborne realm being like him. The only thing that troubled Brother Mi was that the 2 monsters did not seem to get along well while he was away from the compound. Don't tell me, you want to kill me again. Brother Mi's gaze paused on Hua Kirin for a moment. Sensing something, Hua Kirin immediately looked back. Brother Mi was so frightened that he immediately took a few steps towards the black snake. His face was filled with lingering fear. His actions seemed to have completely forgotten that this black snake was also a terrifying demonic beast that killed without batting an eyelid. Have you inquired about Mountain Blocking City for me? Lin Yuan took the initiative to ask as he swallowed a piece of fresh meat into his stomach. Brother Mi must have bought the cooked food to reward him. Although Lin Yuan had not eaten food made by humans for a long time, he was sure that the amount of cooked food was definitely not much. Even if he ate all of it, it would only fill his stomach a little. In the end, he would still be unsatisfied. Yes, I've inquired about it. How can I not take Sir's instructions to heart? Brother Mi immediately replied with a smile. He then said in a deep voice, "The civilians of Mountain Blocking City are all settled in the north of the city, while their army is settled in the White Dragon Mountain outside the city. I didn't inquire about the details, but I heard that there are two leaders inside. One is called Luo Su, and the other is called Li Zhongxing." Luo Su. Li Zhongxing. Lin Yuan frowned imperceptibly. He did not know the name of the purple-eyed youth, but he was sure that the purple-eyed youth's desire for power was incomparably strong. Otherwise, he would not have agreed to Lin Yuan's plan to destroy Mountain Blocking City. It was all for the sake of wiping out all the forces that might stand in his way so that he could completely take over Mountain Blocking City. Logically speaking, it was impossible for there to be two leaders in Mountain Blocking City. Either the purple-eyed youth did not come at all, or he had chosen to bring up the rear. Luo Su and Li Zhongxing were both his right-hand men, and they had only brought their men here in advance to meet up with him. "So that's how it is," Lin Yuan muttered softly. With his intelligence, it was not difficult for him to guess that the purple-eyed youth was not either of the two. At the same time, he could also guess what the purple-eyed youth was busy with at this moment. The Xinwu dynasty undoubtedly attached great importance to the reconstruction of Mountain Blocking City. Almost immediately after the city construction plan was completed, they had sent out a supply team to transport the materials to the designated location. Now that the Hengduan mountain range's demon beasts had attacked, Mountain Blocking City was definitely still in a state of being under construction. There were still a lot of materials that had not been used. The purple-eyed youth should be planning to send all these materials to the Stoneclaw forest ruled by Lin Yuan, so as to avoid being destroyed by the demon beast tide. At the same time, at the periphery of the Stoneclaw forest, Lei Fan stretched his back lazily, a relaxed smile hanging on his face. With the black serpent as his trump card, the monstrous beasts of the Stoneclaw forest would not be able to keep his materials for themselves. With this, when the beast tide was over, he would be able to quickly establish the Mountain Blocking City. As for the other 6 cities, that would be another story. Previously, the 6 border cities were all laughing at him for being the newly appointed city lord who was tasked to rebuild Mountain Blocking City in the face of danger. But after this battle, at least 6 of the 7 border cities would have to be rebuilt. When that time comes, it would be hard to say who would be the one laughing at whom. Leading a few of his personal guards, Lei Fan carefully walked along the path they came from, not daring to make any movements that would attract the demon beast's attention. After all, this was the demon beast's main camp. Once the demon beasts gathered here, even if they were elites who had been through hundreds of battles, they would still be defeated. "Si. A strange sound rang out. Lei Fan subconsciously raised his hand, and the personal guards beside him also stopped in their tracks. A moment later, a black cat that was not even at the spirit awakening realm flashed before their eyes. "Who?" Lei Fan heaved a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was not a demonic beast. Otherwise, they would have died here today. Before he could relax, Lei Fan's face suddenly turned serious, and he subconsciously drew out the battle saber at his waist. This place was the depths of the demon beast forest, and it was an area that had just left the Stoneclaw forest. The demon beasts that appeared here were at least at the 7th to 8th level of the spirit awakening realm. Why would a wild beast, a black cat, suddenly appear in this place? Update with 280 monthly votes. Chapter 236. Young Master. The leader of the personal guards frowned. When he saw Lei Fan draw his sword, he had already prepared himself for battle and had even planned to sacrifice himself to delay the attack of the monstrous beasts to allow Lei Fan to retreat. But even after 2 to 3 minutes, there were still no signs of abnormalities. The only strange thing was that the strange black cat had not left but had instead squatted down on the spot, sizing up the humans, its eyes filled with the arrogance and coldness of a feline. "Prepare for battle." Lei Fan licked his lips, his voice a little hoarse. These personal guards were brave and loyal, but they were all newly transferred from the family clan and had no experience in battling against monstrous beasts. Although they had assumed a battle stance, they could not understand how the appearance of a wild beast could scare Lei Fan to such an extent. Hee, it's actually humans. At this time, you still dare to enter the Hengduan Mountains? Following a burst of laughter that sounded like silver bells, Lei Fan's personal guards immediately felt goosebumps rise on their backs. Humans would never use the word human to refer to their own kind. So the owner of this voice, even if it was not a monstrous beast, it was a demi-human, and a demi-human that was close to the monstrous beasts. Sire, can you come out for a chat? Lei Fan held his sword in a reverse grip and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, his heartbeat quickening. The other party had not immediately summoned the monstrous beasts nearby to surround and kill them and had even shown interest. Lei Fan was already rejoicing that he had survived a calamity. After all, with all these factors added together, it meant that the other party did not have any enmity towards them but was just a little curious. A fair and sparkling bare foot stepped onto a patch of grass. In the next moment, a woman in revealing clothes slowly appeared before the eyes of Lei Fan and the others. She was wearing a red and white witch robe, but it didn't give off any sense of holiness that a divine servant should have. Instead, it gave off an indescribably seductive aura. The seductive aura came from the fact that her figure was far too perfect, so perfect that any man would be charmed by it. However, the seductive aura came from the fact that this woman's brain didn't belong to a human's. It was the head of a fox, covered with fine white fur. Only in the middle of her brows was a red mark that looked like a flame, adding a sense of mystery to her bewitchment. Demi-human. One of the personal guards swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the vigilance in his heart relaxed a little. Demi-humans were a mix of humans and demon beasts. Some demi-humans were more inclined towards demon beasts, while others were more inclined towards humans. When encountering a demi-human in the wild, no one could say for sure which side the other party was on. Vixen, Kagura. Lei Fan's face was solemn as he slowly called out his opponent's name. His left hand, which was holding the saber in reverse, was trembling slightly. If he hadn't seen the other party's appearance, he would have thought that the other party was an ignorant demi-human. But at this moment, all that was left in Lei Fan's heart was fear. A Heaven Dipper realm cultivator was no less cunning than a human. This vixen, who was named Kagura, was a disciple of a deity temple at the borders of the Shinwu dynasty who worshipped the guardian deity. But when Kagura was 17 years old, because of her identity as a demi-human, she missed the opportunity to be a witch in the deity temple. From under her mask of innocence and kindness, a devil was released. On the night of the witch selection, Kagura had spiked the entire deity temple celebratory wine with quite a large dose of knockout powder. Then she had personally slaughtered her teachers who had taught her, and her classmates who had studied with her. Especially the young human girl who had been chosen as the new witch. It was said that when she was discovered, her original appearance was unrecognizable. From then on, the name of the vixen Kagura spread throughout the Hengduan Mountains. Be it a normal person or a demon slayer master, as long as they were caught by Kagura, they would not have a good ending. She had once yearned to join the human dynasty, and wanted to blend into the human race. But reality had given her a resounding slap. So, she was now a lunatic who hated humans to the core. Oh. Little big brother, you actually know me. Kagura's sweet voice seemed to ring right beside their ears. Every single word that came out of her mouth was like a soft little tongue licking their earlobes, causing their hearts to itch. Many of the personal guards' eyes showed a dazed look, and even Lei Fan, after the initial bout of tolerance, fell into a daze, as if he had just seen a goddess in his dreams. He took the initiative to let down all his guard as he walked towards Kagura. Wake up! A low roar rang out right beside their ears. Lei Fan and the entire group of personal guards were jolted awake, and all of them looked at Kagura in horror. Especially the leader of the personal guards, as he looked at Kagura who was just inches away from him, and then looked at the other party's sharp fingernails which were already touching his throat, and the terror in his eyes grew more intense. Kagura, they are the Demon Emperor's subordinates, and are our own people. Wanyu's figure slowly walked out from the shrubbery, almost blending into the pitch-black shadows. A pair of apathetic eyes fell upon Kagura, his eyes filled with helplessness. In the period that the Black Snake was not around, the Stoneclaw Forest and the Demon Emperor's Association were in a state of chaos. If it was just a small matter, then so be it. But if Lei Fan were to die at the hands of Kagura, based on the Black Snake's character, how could he possibly let the vixen Kagura off so easily? Although Wanyu did not know the Black Snake's plans, but he could guess that this newly appointed city lord of the mountain-blocking city, in the eyes of the Black Snake, was no doubt an extremely important pawn. Kagura pursed her lips and did not reply, but silently retracted her fingernails. Although the mysterious Demon Emperor was nowhere to be found, but when he was active, he had indeed left behind many legends. Even among the members of the Demon Emperor's Association who were driven by their own interests, many of them believed that the Black Snake was indeed the reincarnation of the ancient Demon Emperor, or a product of possession, and that he might really be able to lead them to a path of glory in the future. Kagura, who had once believed in the gods, was one of those people. Compared to the human empire that she had once yearned for, Kagura now hoped to see an ancient demon court that spanned across the entire Tianwu continent, and even the four seas. She couldn't wait to join them. She couldn't wait to become a famous deity in the demon court. Leave quickly. Count yourselves lucky this time. If you were to bump into other demi-humans or demonic beasts the next time, I will not save you again. Looking at Kagura who was playing with the little black cat in her arms, Wanyu turned his gaze towards Lei Fan helplessly. Lei Fan nodded his head heavily, and without stopping for a moment, he immediately led his personal guards and sped towards the outskirts of the demonic beast forest. The Hingduan mountain range was now filled with an oppressive aura, and even the demonic beast forest which had posed no threat to him in the past, was now like a cold meat grinder. Those demon slayers who had stayed in the Hingduan mountain range had all been called out, and more demonic beasts had joined in the search. Every second they stayed in this place was an additional threat. Chapter 237. 3 days later. The military encampment in Shunning City. Li Zhongxing supported himself with both hands beside the sand table. His sharp eyes were like an eagle's as he looked back and forth. The beast tide did not charge into Shunning City in one go. They just wandered around Shunning City, as if waiting for something. The war took a long time to come, so Li Zhongxing spent every day in the camp simulating the scenes of the war in various places. However, Li Zhongxing felt more and more bitter when he simulated the war based on the information that was passed between dynasties' insiders. The Mira Frost dynasty's cavalry and the Azure River dynasty's crossbow formations were able to suppress the Shinwu dynasty's heavy armor warriors while maintaining an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. Therefore, the Shinwu dynasty's chances of winning the war against the two dynasties were not very optimistic. At the very least, before reinforcements arrived, the Shinwu dynasty would continue to lose their cities and territories. As for the war between the South and the Dragon Tribe of the Four Seas, it was even more tragic. Because the land in the south was fertile and close to the sea, they could trade at any time. Therefore, it was considered the richest region of the Shinwu dynasty. Under the prosperous economy, life in the south was extremely decadent. Most of the commanders came from big families and were idiots with no actual combat experience. Some of the castellans had long been blinded by glory and wealth. With such a combination, how could they defend the territory of the Shinwu dynasty in the face of the attack of the Dragon Tribe of the Four Seas? The war on the other three fronts was not optimistic. This also meant that they would not receive any reinforcements in a short period of time. Li Zhongxing rubbed his forehead and shook his head in distress. His eyes fell on Luo Su, who was holding a roll of bamboo slips and reading with great interest at the entrance of the encampment. He could not help but reveal some doubts in his eyes. This man seemed to be not worried about anything, whether it was the upcoming war or the situation on the other fronts. However, Li Zhongxing could not help but admire this man's sharp eyes and clear thinking. If it were not for Luo Su's suggestions from time to time, they would have lost at least 1/3 of their troops to reach Shunning City. It would be impossible to maintain a nearly full force. As if he felt Li Zhongxing's gaze, Luo Su slowly turned his head and looked at Li Zhongxing. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, outlining a faint smile. He asked, "Are you worried that the Xinwu dynasty will choose to give up the battle in the Hingduan Mountains because the other fronts are unfavorable?" Li Zhongxing nodded slowly after being seen through by Luo Su. The doubts in his eyes were heavier. This man obviously knew everything. How could he still be so indifferent? Luo Su put down the bamboo slips in his hand, stood up and stretched his body. He said in a deep voice, "The Xinwu dynasty is far weaker than the Wangjian dynasty in terms of national strength. If they start a war with the 4 major powers at the same time, they will die sooner or later. Therefore, although the Emperor God advocates war, it does not mean that he will definitely finish the war. If the Qingzhang dynasty and the Shuangjian dynasty break the bottom line of the Emperor God's heart and continue to march, the Emperor God, who is known for his decisiveness, will give up everything, lead his family and confidants into the Hingduan Mountains to hide, and become a force like the surviving members of the Zhao family. That's impossible, right?" This was too exciting. All of them were thinking about how to fight the war and how to win it. However, the Emperor God, who had been fighting wars for half of his life, was already thinking about how to retreat. Nothing is impossible. If that day really comes, the power structure of the continent will be completely broken. By then, no dynasty will dare to say that they will be the final winner. Therefore, even if the Xinwu dynasty is destroyed, the bloodline of the royal family will still be preserved. If they can establish a connection with the monster palace like the surviving members of the Zhao family, these bloodline of the royal family will have a chance to restore the country. Even if they fail, they can still live a carefree life in their old age. The beast tide in the Hingduan Mountains has been wandering around Shunning City, but they have never launched a general attack. What do you think they are waiting for? They are just waiting for the beast Lord Kirin to negotiate with the Emperor God. For the current Xinwu dynasty, the Hingduan Mountains can provide them with a suitable gathering place. Even if they want to continue hiding in the original Xinwu dynasty's territory, they can also obtain a steady stream of spiritual resources from the Hingduan Mountains. For the Hingduan Mountains, no matter if it is the surviving members of the Zhao family or the Lei royal family, they can help them contain the new power. They don't need to invest too many high-level monsters to guard this place. This is a win-win deal for both sides. Luo Su took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with wisdom. After he finished speaking, the tent suddenly fell into silence. "Commander, I have something to report." Not long after the two of them fell silent, Adjutant Zhang opened the tent door and strode in. He glanced at the two of them and said expressionlessly, "I just received news that someone has been asking about us. I've already sent people over, but they haven't caught anyone, so I'm not too sure about the specific situation." "Asking about us?" Luo Su and Li Zhongxing were slightly startled. After exchanging a glance, they saw the doubt in each other's eyes. Although the strength of the mountain-blocking city's army was the best preserved among the 6 border cities, compared to the other veteran cities that had taken root at the border for many years, the newly built mountain-blocking city with only one Shenlin Jun's reserve troop was obviously not enough. In this camp that was given to them to rest, mountain-blocking city should be the most inconspicuous one. Luo Su was seriously injured, and his face and skin were burned by the inferno of hell. It could be said that he had changed his appearance completely. Other than Lei Fan, no one knew his true identity, so it was impossible for him to have any enemies. As for Li Zhongxing and the others, it was even more impossible for them to have any enemies. They were originally training in the imperial capital, and this time, they had hurriedly rushed to the north after receiving orders from the higher-ups. Not to mention enemies, they didn't even know anyone here. You did have someone asking about us, could it be that you're mistaken? Li Zhongxing frowned slightly and took the initiative to ask. Although the beast tide had not directly pressed against them, the Emperor God had never liked to speak softly. If the negotiations between him and the beast Lord Kirin fell apart, a war could break out at any time. At this time, if there were still people from the inside who had their eyes on them, they wouldn't even know how they died. I'm sure it's true. Adjutant Zhang nodded and said in a deep voice, the news was leaked to me by a mercenary from the Merchant Union. The person who asked about us is surnamed Me, and has used many aliases. He makes a living by robbing people in Shunning City. He's a bastard with a notorious record, but he's very famous. All the local ruffians around Shunning City have to call him Brother Me. Chapter 238. Li Zhongxing narrowed his eyes slightly and made a nasal sound of doubt. Why would a gangster want to know about them? Vice Commander Zhang was silent for a moment before he spoke again. Strictly speaking, this Brother Me is not asking about us. He seems to be here for the city lord. Every time he asks about us, he is asking if there is a young man with purple pupils who has reported to our camp. Interesting. Let's find a chance to meet this Brother Me. Luo Su licked his lips and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. His past identity was already a dead man, and it was said that he had even been conferred the title of hero by the divine martial dynasty. Now, if he still wanted to continue living on this mainland, he would need to think of a way to get himself a legal identity. If these people who were hiding in the shadows wanted to deal with Lei Fan, then they would be forcing him into a dead end. How do we meet him? This guy is as smart as a monkey. Vice Commander Zhang said awkwardly, every time my men followed him, they would be shaken off within 2 streets. It would be too difficult to capture him by force. Both of you know that the city lord of Shunning City is very disgusted with soldiers like us entering the city. We have to go through a lot of procedures to enter the city. If we were to fight with this Brother Me in the city, the sky would fall down. The city lord of Shunning City seemed to be a man with a strong desire for power. He could accept all refugees into Shunning City. But he would rather set up a temporary camp near Shunning City for the soldiers from the other 6 cities than let them enter the city to assist in the defense. It was as if he was afraid that these people from the other 6 cities would seize his power. Brother, you and Li Zhongxing are good at everything. Young, courageous, and quick-witted. These words are not a problem for the 2 of you. However, you must know that the biggest problem for the 2 of you is that you are too young. You lack the experience to deal with all kinds of unexpected situations. Luo Su patted Vice Commander Zhang on the shoulder and sneered, when did I say we were going to enter the city to look for him? Didn't he want to know about the Castellan? Go back and find a reliable mercenary and ask him to spread the news that the Castellan is near Shunning City. Then arrange a job for the mercenary. If Brother Me wants to take the bait, he will come directly to the camp outside the city. Deputy Zhang had sent men to capture Brother Me a few times before, but they were all shaken off. Although Brother Me wasn't sure if this person was his enemy or someone from Mountain Blocking City, he would definitely act more cautiously. The place where they would meet next time would definitely be more concealed. Brother Me would also set up more escape routes. Therefore, if he wanted to capture this person who was secretly gathering information about them, he would have to use an overt scheme to eliminate all of the other party's advantages. If he still wanted to know more about Lei Fan, even if he had guessed that this was a trap, he had no choice but to come. If Brother Me did not come, it meant that Deputy Zhang was investigating in the wrong direction. Brother Mi was not worth his attention. The next morning, in a secluded courtyard in Shunning City, Brother Mi shook his head with a mournful face and said in a low voice, "Lord Black Snake, please don't force me. Previously, when I was gathering information about that purple-eyed youth, I was targeted more than once. If I wasn't familiar with the streets and alleys of Shunning City, I would have been captured long ago. This time, the other party has set the meeting place outside the city. If there is even the slightest mistake, I will be dead. You know that if you meet him outside the city, the slightest mistake will mean death. Then don't you know that if you don't meet him, you will die immediately?" Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes narrowed slightly, staring straight at Brother Mi's face. As time passed, the number of beasts gathered near Shunning City increased. The fire Kirin would definitely not stay here and wait for the beasts to breach Shunning City. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not have much time left. He had to kill the fire Kirin before Shunning City was breached and seize the bloodline power in the fire Kirin. Brother Mi stammered for a long time, unable to say a word. How could he not know that if he disobeyed the Black Snake's order, the poison in his body could erupt at any time? Currently, nearly 2/3 of his blood was extremely hot, as if it had been infected by the Black Snake's poison. Once the Black Snake had a thought, he would die on the spot. "Let me ask you, are you going or not?" Lin Yuan meandered to Brother Mi and coiled his body in front of him. His eyes revealed a trace of coldness. "I'll go." Brother Mi gritted his teeth and nodded his head heavily. Even if this was really a trap set by the mountain-blocking city, they would not kill him immediately after capturing him. Instead, they would interrogate him about the person behind him. By then, he would still have some leeway. However, if he rejected the Black Snake's order, he would die immediately from the poison. Smack! Smack! Lin Yuan patted Brother Mi's shoulder with his snake tail and said with a smile, "If this is really a trap set by the mountain-blocking city, don't say a word after you're captured. At the very least, don't say anything before you meet the purple-eyed youth. You might suffer a little, but I'll think of a way to compensate you. Hold on until the purple-eyed youth participates in your interrogation. Then, you can vaguely remind him of my existence when no one else is aware of it. I guarantee that you'll be fine." Brother Mi's face was still filled with bitterness. However, amidst his bitterness, he was also pondering over the identity of this purple-eyed youth. Li Zhongxing was in charge of the entire mountain-blocking city's garrison army. Meanwhile, the Merchants Association and the Demon-Subduing Masters Association were under Luo Su's control. Brother Mi's actions this time were directly confronting these two. Why was the Black Snake so certain that he would be safe once the purple-eyed youth appeared? Could it be trying to trick him? Brother Mi did not consider the existence of a city lord above Luo Su and Li Zhongxing. After all, the city lords of the northern frontier were mortal enemies with the demon beasts. There was no personal relationship to speak of. After Brother Mi left, Lin Yuan suppressed his body to the smallest size possible and quietly left the courtyard. He then headed towards a small tavern that was similarly located in an extremely remote location. During this period of time, Fire Kirin had been busy with something. Normally, it would stay in the demon-subduing pouch carried by the puppet and would only return to the courtyard to rest when dawn approached. Lin Yuan guessed that Fire Kirin should be preparing the necessary procedures and resources to head to the next human city. Therefore, it forced Brother Mi to meet with the mercenary who spread the news. Who knew when the Fire Qilin would sneak away without making a sound? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.